'cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. I've got you. I've got you.
Glad to be with you, and I will be throwing to the exclusive package here.
Okay. Yeah.
A freaking coward serving you. You're the one who's being served up to vipers, to predators. And lay out in detail a heinous story, and more importantly, the cover-up, or I should say, lack of accountability as it relates to all of the players involved. And really, more than anything, the purpose of this is to push for something we all want, which is accountability. And as a citizen of this country, as a member of your community, and I hope you're an active one, at a certain point, I know that a lot of you feel as though there's no place to go for answers. And that's certainly crystallized here in this segment. We're supposed to have public servants. But what do you do when public servants aren't actually serving you? You're the one who's being served up to vipers, to predators. And that's not hyperbole. With today's story, you will see that we are in fact dealing with predators and vipers. Please make sure to stick around, because after this, I'm going to be here live, me, Gerald, as well as a reporter on the ground, covering some updates to this story, as well as taking any questions that you may have. And please thank Bug Club Undercover. Show them you love them. They worked hard on this.
I don't know what you people are doing, but you're really barking up the wrong tree.
We're asking questions, man.
Sir, I have nothing to say to you.
A student in your program got taken advantage of.
Sir, you got about 5 seconds to get off my.
If you're asking us to leave, we're leaving.
I'm definitely telling you to leave.
Not a problem. Asking questions as journalists. We are not doing anything more than that. We are simply asking questions as journalists. We called you on the phone. You hung up the phone on us. You asked us to leave, we're leaving. You then chased us.
I chased you nowhere. I am in my room.
Maybe you use like a.
This is my property.
You don't care about a young girl. You were responsible for her. She was under your care, correct?
No.
She would never be alone with a convicted criminal.
No. These are still children that weren't taken care of.
Just to be clear, like we're talking like minor high school students will be alone with criminals in jail.
Do you mind has that those
Yeah, I mean, they hired me. The reason why we know because they hired
It's just saying that.
So they're getting experience before they become an adult?
I'm aware that if you're intent on doing something, it's almost
The file is.
as long as I've been here, I've had correctional officers engaged in sexual activity within the facility and been prosecuted and sent people to prison for that.
No.
And one thing I know is that if somebody
Yeah, it's
intent
all,
on doing something,
all of these, the Campbells,
to stop it
CSP, all of them
completely
are only
because
16
you can move around, and while an officer is doing his round, you can step inside a cell for a very
It's
short
like the only
period
one
of
that's
time
good is
engaged in
forklift.
various activity, as it's like brain contribution or something
Yeah,
like
some of
that.
these
So
are
when the person is now 18, there was, at all times in this particular incident, there was another officer in that pod.
I'm happy to answer your name. I'm AJ. Public Relations Coordinator here.
Public relations, okay. Do you want to go? He's not available this week.
I would prefer to speak on behalf of the district. So as of last year, then how did the program just end? Is it the sheriff's office that stopped it? Because from what I understand, the sheriff's office told me that after they learned the incident, they were the ones that stopped the program. Oh, that's not something that I'm aware of. That would be a question better for the sheriff's office. If that's something that, I mean, are you aware that the sheriff's office is no longer? As far as
well, I believe that we temporarily suspended it.
Okay, I can connect you down to his office. However, we are on summer break, so we really have a skeleton crew here right now. We'll try
Miss Weingardner and see if she's in. I'm going to try one more person. Hold on.
The person at extension 4117 is unavailable.
So no students, I can tell her that. No student's been assaulted through Butler Tech at the jail.
Correct.
Okay, well, thank goodness, man. So what happened with...
Excuse me? I can't speak on students.
I'll give you my email address, and you can send me an email with the particulars that you know. I will go through the proper channels with Marshal Service headquarters to see, what information we can relay to you. But I also believe, with very respectfully, that you need to do a FOIA request asking information if there was an investigation done by the Marshal Service. If something to that effect, what information can they provide you?
I don't know if this jogs your memory at all. Willie Attaway and Larkin McGowan are the federal inmates involved. So there's a record of this. Are those people you'd be familiar with? Hardened criminals?
I have no comment, sir.
If you just told me you could receive this email and we are opening an investigation into this matter, and we will forward it to the appropriate authorities for further investigation. Are you able to confirm that you were not aware of this prior to us letting you know? We were not aware.
Well, what I can say is, based on what you guys advised us of on Friday, we are formalizing a written response that once it gets approval from Marshal Service headquarters, I will forward to you.
Okay.
But outside of the official response, I want to say thank you for bringing this to our attention.
So first, I can report to you today that the U.S. Marshals have opened an investigation into a massive cover-up within the Butler County, Ohio jail. And I know that exclusively because of our undercover unit and you, the supporting members of Mug Club. Second, I'm going to let you know how this seemingly local story actually directly affects and impacts you and your community. To start with, a 17-year-old girl was taking part in a school vocational program in which she spent time with violent federal inmates who proceeded to coerce and manipulate her into sexual acts and trafficking contraband. Now, how did this happen? And who, if anybody, could have stopped it? According to all of the information available, the incident was buried by both those in charge at the Butler Tech Justice Program, that's the vocational school, and the Butler County Sheriff's Department itself. Why? A wild guess would suggest that Butler County's not wanting to lose their multi-million-dollar federal contract with the U.S. Marshals could be a reason. And I'm sure that 17-year-old girls being exposed to and left with violent federal inmates might reflect poorly on the publicly funded Butler Tech vocational program. Key terms here being contracts and publicly funded. Starting to see how this could happen in your community, in any community? I'll let you be the judge. Starts with an internship involving the county jail with a minor who was seemingly allowed free rein and was repeatedly left unattended with hardened criminals, including a convicted murderer. As a result, a relationship developed between this minor female and two dangerous federal inmates. Larkin McGowan, who committed every crime from drug abuse to aggravated robbery, and Willie Attaway Jr., a convicted murderer. Subsequently, these two were able to effectively groom this girl into illegal acts and, of course, major violations of jail policy. Mug Club only became aware of this incident because one brave whistleblower contacted us with leaked documents and details of the case. Now, that would seem shocking enough. We understand, though, that mistakes are often made, even harmful ones, unintentionally. The inexcusable part is that once we began investigating, we were repeatedly stonewalled and outright lied to by both the tech school and the sheriff's department. These people knew about the incident. They just didn't want anyone else to know. You know who else didn't know? The U.S. Marshals. Do you know how I know? Because the local chief deputy directed us to them, claiming that the marshals had been made aware. And so we made some phone calls. It's a good thing we did. The story you're about to hear is definitely disturbing for some viewers, but it's an important one. March 1st, 2024, Jane Doe, a female high school student, was interning as a correctional officer through this criminal justice program at Butler Tech, an alternative learning institution. It's based in Hamilton, Ohio. Now, we, of course, are not going to reveal the name of this person because she's a minor and she's a victim of the incompetency of her program's leadership and the jail's correctional staff within the Butler County Sheriff's Department. According to Butler Tech's website, students on the criminal justice track will put on a uniform and uphold the law of the land with a future in criminal justice and explore all angles of law enforcement from police training to court proceedings, forensics, and investigations to crisis response. As part of the internship program, this Jane Doe was placed in the Butler County Jail. Now, it should be noted, until 2021, Butler County worked with ICE to house immigrants while their asylum cases were pending.
For the first time in about 17 years, Butler County Sheriff's Office will no longer work with ICE to jail immigrants. The sheriff terminated the contract with the Department of Homeland Security this week.
WCPO 9 News reporter Courtney Francisco found out what this means for people held prisoner under the old contract.
Life inside Butler County Jail's immigrant quarters will change over the next 60 days, attorneys say. Immigrants will get released.
Butler County received a hefty sum to do so. In 2017, the Marshals made a deal with the jail for $8.2 million over 5 years to house ICE detainees.
In 2017, WCPO's investigative team told you the federal government used taxpayer dollars to pay the jail about $8.2 million over 5 years to house ICE detainees.
After somewhere around 17 years, the Butler County Jail ended their contract with the Department of Homeland Security, citing that federal officials continue to add unreasonable and cost-prohibitive mandates. Now, our source indicated that the Butler County Jail now receives $10 million in federal funding to house federal inmates on behalf of the U.S. Marshals. We did find a 2014 contract agreement between the United States Marshals Service and the Butler County Jail, signed by current Sheriff Richard Jones, which showed a deal totaling $8.4 million. That means that when Jane Doe started her program, it was known she would be working in proximity with federal inmates, including, again, hardened criminals guilty of everything up to and including murder. Now, while that may seem questionable, it could figuratively all have been done above board if all the proper procedures had been followed. They were not followed. And what happened as a result cannot be considered anything close to above board. So according to our source, Jane Doe, a high school student, a minor at the time, was routinely left unsupervised in the facility with, again, hardened inmates. For reference, here's a photo of where Jane Doe might have worked during her time in the program. Now, this minor female, a girl, was then coerced over the course of her internship into smuggling contraband, including drugs, cell phones, and cigarettes. However, that pales in comparison to what happened between Jane Doe, this minor female, and two inmates, Willie Attaway and Larkin McGowan. Attaway is being held at Butler County for murdering the owner of a store during armed robbery.
A man pleads guilty to murdering a convenience store owner and 5 other armed robberies in all. The robberies happening in Hamilton, Lebanon, Deerfield Township, Blue Ash, and Madeira. 32-year-old Willie James Attaway now admitting to murdering the owner of the Madeira beverage. This was back in February of 2021. And again, he pleaded guilty today. It was one of the 5 places he robbed over a 2-day period. After Attaway killed this owner, he then went on to rob 2 more convenience stores that very night. He faces up to 45 years behind bars.
That's just the cherry on top of a long history containing criminal drug charges, domestic abuse. You can read up on it. Now, McGowan has a criminal history of violent crimes, including burglary, aggravated robbery, the run-of-the-mill stuff. According to our source, these inmates actively manipulated, groomed, and coerced Jane Doe into sexual acts, including not limited to sodomy. These claims are supported by letters that we have obtained between Jane Doe and the inmates. Now, the letters, which we are about to show you, were shared exclusively with the Mug Club Undercover Unit by one of our viewers. And when I told you that Mug Club Undercover was going to be a huge part of the future here of Mug Club, that's exactly what I meant. None of this is possible without you, Mug Club, our members. If you want to help to continue and grow this movement, do consider joining Mug Club at louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club right now. Use the promo code COVERUP for $20 off. None of this happens without you. Let's take a look at some examples of the correspondence between the hardened federal inmates and young girl. This one here reads as a masterclass in manipulation written by Larkin McGowan to Jane Doe. It says, "Baby, I apologize about earlier. I just don't want you to fuck up what you got going on for one of these clowns. Like I said before, talk too much. He already told everybody he got your Instagram. It's cool to talk, but don't be too friendly, because start thinking other shit. They think you talking to them means that you like them, and you my bitch, so I can't have that. And about what I asked you last week about the Newports, it's really simple, babe. You won't get in trouble if you listen to me and do it the right way. You can literally just put them in your bra until you get in." Here's another one to Jane Doe from Willie Attaway, a.k.a. Bear, a.k.a. convicted murderer. "They, my name, Bear. I'm 32 years old. I have no kids. I'm from Cincinnati. I grew up downtown. I'm looking for someone I can build with, get to know, and start a future. Someone that's for me, like I'm for them. Someone I can call my person." And Attaway writes like this for pages and pages, including, "I just want to be as safe as possible, and I really want to build with you. I'm not in this relationship to use you or hurt you. Only time I'll hurt you is when we make love, but it will be more pleasure than pain." And if that weren't romantic enough, write down an address I can get at you at, and that Cash App, so I can keep them nails and sexy ass feet done. Let's turn up. I'm not playing with you at all. I'm locking you down. You mine. You my baby. I'm your dude. Write me back ASAP. To my queen from your king. In one particularly graphic letter to Jane Doe, he writes, "Make sure you write your phone number down on a small piece of paper, ball it up real small, and when you do your rounds, flick it in my cell. My cellie is my homie from the streets, so we good, and you ain't gotta have no worries dealing with us at all. It's the others you gotta be careful about. So is you trying to be wifey or what? Do you want to ride my face and big dick? Can you handle 11 inches? Another gem, a list of get-to-know-you questions from who we presume, based on the less-than-stellar handwriting, is Larkin McGowan, reads, 2, how many dudes do you talk to? 3, can you see yourself being with me when I get out? 4, why you be entertaining these dumbass in here? 5, what do you like most about me? 6, do you or 7, have you ever been to Columbus? 8, what's your favorite position? P.S. I was excited to see you today, and I'm a call tonight between 9 and 9:30. And please stop accepting notes from these. And the shit I be doing in my cell and in the shower, you can't do that with other people because you mines only." Remember, Jane Doe is a minor, a girl. Of course, these acts couldn't go unpunished. She was charged with multiple crimes, including a Class 3 felony. Attaway Jr. and McGowan, they haven't faced any punishment yet, but there is an ongoing C-10 investigation, according to Chief Deputy Dwyer, and according to Ohio.gov, a C-10 violation in this case means that even if found guilty, the inmates could really face nothing more than a restriction of certain privileges for a designated period of time. Justice is served. So in order to corroborate what the source had given us, we FOIA'd the incident report, as well as any communications between Jane Doe and the inmates. We were successful with the incident report confirming a relationship between this girl, Jane Doe, and the inmates, but were denied the letters or any other forms of communication. So naturally, we had more than a few questions, namely, what kind of a program, what kind of a publicly funded program would leave minors unattended with murderers? We reached out to Butler Tech for answers, and what we got included a slew of contradicting answers across 24 separate phone calls. First spoke with Butler Tech Secretary Lacey Homan, who assured us that under no circumstances would a minor ever be left alone in this kind of a situation.
So wait, so you said they do a tour, but they're not, she would never be alone with a convicted criminal.
Oh, no.
Oh, thank God. So I can promise her that there is never going to be a situation where she would be alone with some like hardened criminal.
Correct.
Oh, thank goodness.
Correct.
So
These are still children that we're taking care of.
yes, they are. That's great. So what kind of safety measures do you guys have in place? Like, I think that's cool. They get to see the jail and all, but like, obviously they would be like supervised by, is that someone from Butler Tech that goes with them on the jail tour?
Yeah, their criminal justice instructor goes, and then normally there's one or two other chaperones.
Incorrect. We agree, these are children. This is not what we would call taken care of. So next, we reached out to the head of the program, Aaron Fitzgerald, who told us that while interns may, from time to time, be left alone, nothing bad has ever happened as a result.
Would a student ever be alone with a criminal in the jail?
Yes. If they're interning.
If they're interning? Okay. So that's something you get in, like, how do you go from, because she's 17 and she's like so psyched for this.
Yeah, I mean, I select those students who are going to do the internships their senior year. But I mean, yes, they will be, I mean, those students who do the internship in a jail, they will be working in a full-fledged
facility. That's like without supervision?
I mean, they'll be there with officers, but I mean, will there be times where you might be, alone with the inmate? I mean, that possibility exists.
Okay.
I'm just being real with you.
I appreciate it. I mean, that's what I'm trying to I'm just trying to put out the fire.
There's all going to be all kinds of paperwork, before we do the internships that they would have to sign. I mean,
just to be clear, like we're talking like minor high school students will be alone with criminals in jail.
Yeah, I mean, they hire. I mean, the reason why we do it because they hire at age 18.
So they're getting experience before they become an adult?
Yes.
Why wouldn't you guys just...
A lot of our programs have internships. I mean, welding, fire, IT.
I mean, and here's the thing. I can kind of like, there's probably never been like an incident, right?
We had anybody, I can tell you that, but I mean, it's
sorry.
a jail facility, so things,
things can happen, right? But
things happen that happen in jail.
No students ever died. Can I tell her that?
Yeah.
Anything like been assaulted, anything like that?
No.
So, okay, good. So no students. I can tell her that no students been assaulted through Butler Tech at the jail.
Correct.
Finally, we spoke with Butler County Chief Deputy Anthony Dwyer, who told us that not only were the interns left alone, but something bad actually did happen.
What was incorrect about what I had stated in my voicemail?
Once again, it's a pending criminal case. The person in this case, the juvenile, has been charged. Did you know that?
Yeah, the juvenile was charged with, it was conveyance of contraband, essentially.
Yeah, that was the original charge, and then there's an underlying discussion about the other physical things that went on in the facility with this juvenile.
We then tried to get some answers, some help from Hamilton High School, who shares a campus with Butler Tech. Unfortunately, we got the runaround from HHS as well, until we were finally called back by Principal Zari, who outright denied any affiliation.
Were you made aware of this situation?
The the Butler Tech Criminal Justice Program is not a satellite program here at our campus.
Seems cut and dry, except it was promptly contradicted by the Hamilton School Board.
Hamilton City Board of Education.
Hey there. I was just calling to see if y'all were affiliated with Butler Tech Vocational School.
Yes, there's like some programs that the high school kids take.
Awesome. There's one, so my kid wants to do criminal justice. I heard they got a great program there at Butler Tech.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was going to pipeline them, and then I got in the middle.
So now we have a harrowing, hair-raising incident involving a girl, violent federal inmates, including a murderer. And the high school can't help. Guess they're not responsible. The tech school can't help. Guess they're not responsible. The local sheriff's department can't help. I guess they're not responsible. Maybe you could argue that since this involves federal prisoners under the supervision of U.S. Marshals, they should be the ones to deal with it. The big question that we had as we continued down this path is, did they even know? When Chief Deputy Dwyer contacted my team on Monday, June 17th, he told us that he was almost positive the Marshals, they knew.
Who was made aware of this situation?
And that's everyone that's involved in this is aware. Obviously the juvenile.
So the Marshals, they're the kid's family.
I can't confirm. I'm almost positive that they spoke to the Marshals and notified them of the incident.
Unfortunately, when we spoke with the very helpful, by the way, Assistant Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal Melissa Duffy, who our source indicated was responsible for the inmates initially, she indicated that the Marshals, in fact, did not know. And as a result of now knowing, they were launching an investigation.
If you just did receive this email, and we are opening an investigation into this matter, and we will forward it to the appropriate authorities for further investigation. Are you able to confirm that you were not aware of this prior to us letting you know? We're not aware.
2 days later, June 17th, Duffy informed us that the U.S. Marshals would be providing a written statement and assured us that they were taking the matter very seriously.
I just wanted to confirm that said that you weren't aware of this before we called or brought it to your attention, right?
Well, what I can say is based on what you guys advised us of on Friday, we are formalizing a written response that once it gets approval from Marshal Service Headquarters, I will forward to you.
Okay.
But outside of the official response, I want to say thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I mean, we are concerned. I can say that.
Yes.
We understand the sensitivity of the matter, and hence why we are doing a written statement.
Yes.
It's coming out between the Marshal Service here, Southern Ohio, and Marshal Service Headquarters.
Okay, great. That's
and as soon as I receive that, as from my senior management here locally, which I am a part of, obviously, we will forward it on, and I will personally make sure that you receive it.
As of this recording, we are still waiting to receive the letter. Now, during that same call, Dwyer also downplayed Jane Doe's status as a minor. And altogether the seriousness of the...
Don't know who you've talked to, but generally with a pending criminal case, we don't talk much about those. I also want to make sure that things are accurate, that you're getting the right information and not... I'm assuming as a journalist, you want to have accurate information that you can report.
Yes, sir. 100%.
So, right. And like I said, when I listen to the message, that's not accurate. Can we talk off the record? Are you truly, I don't really know you, so are you a journalist? Or everyone that's involved in this is aware, obviously the juvenile.
So the Marshals, they're the kid's family.
I can't confirm. I'm almost positive that they spoke to the Marshals and notified them of the incident. I've been involved in this for quite a while in the jail, and I'm aware that if you're intent on
I don't have to bother
pipelining
her.
To stop. As long as I've been here, I've had correction officers engaged in sexual activity within the facility and been prosecuted. We've sent people to prison for that. And one thing I know is that if somebody is intent on doing something, it's very hard to stop it completely, because you can move around, and while an officer is doing his round, you can step inside a cell for a very short period of time, engage in some nefarious activity, like bringing contraband in or something like that. So it is difficult to stop that 100%.
This was a particularly alarming situation to us because of the age of the student in question.
I believe the person is now 18.
Copy that.
She's an adult.
Well, my sources indicate that that's not the case, but we can double check that. Has there been any change to the policy? Is there anything that's changed as far as supervisory roles inside the facility that could prevent this sort of thing from happening again?
Well, and that's what I mentioned to you earlier. When somebody decides to go down that path, it's virtually impossible to stop it completely. The only information we have during the interview was a consensual encounter with an inmate.
We have the letters written between these two federal inmates, Larkin McGowan and Willie Attaway. We know what went on, sir.
And if you have those, we would appreciate you sharing those with us, because it might lead to the criminal case.
You have them too.
Letters between two inmates?
Yes, and the phone calls. We understand there's video of her being sodomized by these men on her cell phone. So you're telling me there was a guard in earshot of this?
There was, at all times, from my understanding of the investigation, another officer inside the pod. And I don't think that's accurate. I think there was another cell phone involved, and I don't believe that they authenticated any video of the actual incident occurring. That's two separate issues. So there is a taped interview with her that is in court as we speak, where you have the whole interview of them talking to her. At first, she denies the allegation, and then she continues on to make other admissions. And there is a full... that is taped, and that is actually currently in the court system now. There's a motion to suppress her statement, and they've had a first hearing, and there's another hearing pending.
Who filed the motion to suppress her statement?
Excuse me?
Who filed the motion to suppress her statement?
Her attorney. If somebody wants to come here so we can exchange that information or receive it, yes, we would take any information if it's relevant to the case. Obviously, we want to get to the truth of the matter, and I believe at the time they did have her phone and they scanned her phone, so we have all that. So if there's something else, and I was aware of another video that I believe is unrelated, but yes, if somebody wants to bring information in here and share it, I'd appreciate that.
Now, while we were in Butler County, my team also visited Butler Tech. Unfortunately, the place was largely a ghost town with only a secretary who knew very little. But still looking for answers, the Mug Club Undercover Unit visited the home of Butler Tech program lead Aaron Fitzgerald, and that is when the following exchange took place.
Hi, I was looking for Aaron Fitzgerald.
Yes. Who are you with, sir?
Louder with Crowder.
You're louder with Crowder. And what's your name?
My name is...
What's your name?
I'm not going to give you a last name right now. Again, Aaron, you're the one we're asking questions to.
Do not contact my cell phone again.
Okay.
Definitely do not come to my property again.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know what you people are doing, but you're really barking up the wrong tree.
We're asking questions, man.
Sir, I have nothing to say to you.
A student in your program got taken advantage of.
Sir, you got about 5 seconds to get off my.
If you're asking us to leave, we're leaving.
I'm definitely telling you to leave, and
not a problem.
Ever come back?
Understood.
The nerve on.
We're now not on your property. Now we can talk.
Actually, you are. This is a private neighborhood.
This is a private neighborhood?
It signs out front. You have no business being here. Do not come back. We will trespass you.
You've already told me that. I already understand it. You're the one who came off your property.
This right here. No.
I asked you a question.
This is private property.
Your program.
This is private
property. We're asking questions as journalists. We are not doing anything more than that. We are simply asking questions as journalists. We called you on the phone.
You are on private
You hung up the phone on us. You asked us to leave. We're leaving. You then chased us.
You are on. No, I ain't chasing nowhere. I am in my right here. This is my property.
And that's it.
Are you still running the program for criminal
This is my property. This is my property. This neighborhood is completely private. You have no business here.
My business was to come talk to you.
No,
you asked me to leave, so now we're leaving.
Your business is not to come talk to me. Please do not contact me on my personal cell phone. Do not ever come back to my house.
The story's coming out next week.
I don't care.
And then we'll take it from there.
I don't have anything to do with your story. I don't care about your
girl in your program.
I don't care about your story.
You don't care about a young girl who you were responsible for. She was under your care, correct?
No. Do not ever come to my home again.
Understood.
So with all that, a lot of questions still remain, namely all of them, including the ones that I'm sure are bothering you. Is this program still ongoing? And if it is, have any changes been made to ensure the safety of the students, people involved? Who's in charge of the safety? What changes have been made? What accountability has taken place? Who is actually in charge of running an investigation once an incident like this has already taken place and ensuring that it doesn't take place again? Are you seeing how this could happen in any community across the United States? Not just with this type of a program, but any publicly funded, taxpayer-funded program. It seems that any time public funding or grants are involved, people have a vested interest in ensuring that that continues. But where do you go as a tax-paying citizen for accountability, for answers, when your public servants aren't actually serving you? Where do you go when your public servants are actually serving you up to predators? And I don't use that term here. There's not a hint of hyperbole. In this case, we're actually talking about minors with hardened, violent criminals. We caught one. How many more are there? How could you possibly catch them? Let me ask you this. Who would have a vested interest in possibly catching these incidents? And how can you be assured that that person has enough of a conscience to risk going upstream against the grain with everybody else who wants to ensure that it never sees the light of day? Where do you go? They're your tax dollars. They're your daughters, sons, community members. Who steps up? Who do you go to? That can happen anywhere. And it still is happening everywhere. Back here with you. Yeah. I mean, that was me, and now it's me again. Yeah. So, intense, obviously, story. We appreciate it. When I say not appreciate this, let me be very clear. I'm not appreciative of the story having taken place. I'm appreciative of Mug Club Undercover bringing it to light. And we're actually going to have Brianna Morello, who was on the ground and spoke with some people, but that wasn't able to be filmed or recorded. So she's on location out in front of the jail this morning. We'll be talking with her and taking your chats on Mug Club. If you are not a member, please do consider joining. I mean, not only are we gearing up for the biggest election stream of all time in November with the ability to call states and have boots in the ground, but none of this undercover journalism happens without you, along, of course, with the daily content, louderwithcredit.com/Mug Club. And there's the promo code, I believe, Cover Up for $20 off right now.
Yeah, click the link in the description, the easiest way to do it. This is infuriating, man. This is a theme that we're seeing. We're seeing a theme of parents not having enough information to be able to protect their children. Right. And that's really what's going on here. And it's this common theme. It's that they understand, at least intellectually, that they are children. You heard one of the ladies say that in there. These are children. We protect our children in these programs. These are our children too. These are children, right? They say that the entire time. And yet there are 50 other students potentially roughly in this program. Were their parents notified of an incident like this? Were their parents told that there would be situations that, according to them, that could not be prevented, where they would be in contact with inmates and somebody should be within earshot, somebody should be on the pod, somebody should be around, but yet there's enough time for people to sneak into a cell and have sex? Yeah. Like, that's the kind of contact that is happening. Are they aware of that? So are parents able to make these kinds of decisions? Because when we called and said, we're a parent trying to figure out if our student should be in this program, can you tell me that it's safe? Can you give me some reassurances? They all day long, oh, it's fine.
By the way, it's the exact same. It's the same root problem. Obviously, this is far more sinister, but it's the same root problem that you have with whether it's drag queens reading to kids at school, whether it's the curriculum where they're putting in effectively pornography, right, which they had to deal with in Florida as it deals with gender dysphoria. It's the same problem where as a parent, you can't get an answer because, and this goes back to Marxism, to be clear. Karl Marx believed that the nuclear family was a tool of the bourgeoisie to keep the proletariat oppressed and in a perpetual cycle of manual labor. He wrote about, and by the way, many Marxists have written about, how the village will eventually raise the family in a communal role. Now, of course, they never lived that way, but that's what they said. They said there has to be the destruction of the nuclear family. And before we get to this idea of just children being taken away, it starts with someone having your children for hours and hours and hours a day, and you no longer having a say. It's your tax dollars,
right?
But they're going to do it their way. This is the problem with all public programs. So you see this, but think of any public programs in your area. And that could be, of course, school, but also when we're talking about prisons, they're receiving giant grants. When you're talking about any type of public program, there is a problem with this system in general because there's no incentive for performance, to improve performance, to provide a better product, in this case, a safer product, to provide the baseline necessities of the product or service or commodity. But there is an incentive to hide underperformance. There is an incentive to hide something going wrong. Why? Because, well, then the funding may potentially stop. Now, it takes a very egregious incident for that to take place, but this is what happens. You don't have an incentive to force people like you would in the private sector to perform. You don't have any type of accountability, which, by the way, sort of Adam Smith talks about this. There's a natural form of accountability, for example, in a business, because you do have metrics. Now, I'm not just talking about dollars. You do have metrics as to how people perform in the workplace. You do have metrics in the world in general. You look at the public sector, this is how you end up with a situation like the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education, created in 1963 with no measurable improvement. Think about that, trillions of dollars. Think of how many billions have been given to the teachers' unions directly. And we actually see in many districts worse performance. At what point do you consider it a failure? It can't be deemed a failure. And it's certainly never going to be deemed a failure by people who are involved with the public program. That's, to me, what is so pernicious across the entire country. How does it impact your community? Well, think of any public program, and if something goes wrong, who fixes it? Who can you talk to?
Yeah. Well, how is it possible that information is not primarily the property of the parents of these children? Not the schools. It's not the systems. Let me just lay this out for you and help me make sense of this. So we have a minor in this program, okay, in contact with, let's just say, inmates for now, because there are options on how they do that. And the way that they did this just baffles me on every single point, but it just gets worse. Minor in contact with inmates. Why? If I'm studying to go into this field and I'm going to do an internship and I'm going to be hired, at a certain level of commitment, maybe I need to have contact with inmates, but for a little while, I can just do the book side of this thing. I can go into the administrative offices and watch cameras and understand and hear from different people. Doesn't seem like the best use until I'm fully committed, right? Okay, fine. You can argue that that's not my best use of time for a minor. Minor female. Okay. If you are trying to protect the most vulnerable, minor, very vulnerable, can be manipulated, right? That's why we have laws that protect minors. Female can be, especially in a prison environment, period, can be manipulated and is at a heightened risk, right? Physically unable to protect themselves nearly as well, right? Now, find minor female in contact with male inmates.
Why?
What is the point? Especially when most jails, the county jails, things like that, they have separate wings for female inmates. So if you make the argument to me, and I don't think you're going to be able to convince me or any other rational parent out there that minor and female should be in that situation, you certainly can't convince me that they need to be around men when women would be the safer bet to get them that necessary experience. How is that possible?
Let's go one more, not just men. Murderers.
Exactly.
Murderers, violent criminals with a rap sheet a mile long. By the way, here's a picture of the jail in question where this minor was exposed to violent inmates. This is not, I want to be clear, this is not about age of consent. This is about a high school student being groomed and manipulated by violent felons, murderers. And I have a bunch of questions. Of course, this is not my daughter. Why aren't the parents suing? Is someone going to be fired? Is someone going to resign? I have no idea. There needs to be some kind of remedy for this situation. Yes. And just to be clear, the U.S. Marshal Miss Duffy was incredibly helpful. Sometimes we are conflicted with these stories because you have someone who is absolutely trying to do the right thing, and I believe is fighting an uphill battle. And as far as I'm concerned, this is someone who is heroic in actually doing something about it. So I don't want us to throw everybody in the same pot. And think about that for a second, though, too. Oh, U.S. Marshals knew. No. No. So who knows? Who's doing something? That's the issue. It's finger pointing. They're basically children.
Yeah.
These public servants, right? Children, they never want to take the blame. They blame somebody else. You have to get to the bottom of it. Okay, who actually took the extra milk from the cafeteria? All right, you're saying it was Tommy. This is what happens here. No, it's not my responsibility. Well, actually it is. Well, my responsibility, well, it's no longer mine because the marshals know. And the marshals say, no, hold on a second, we didn't. They go, well, why are you digging around? Well, I have nothing to do with this story. All it is about abdicating responsibility.
Yeah.
And we see that time and time again. Now, we don't often see it with a minor being allegedly potentially sodomized by violent felons and murderers, but you see it all the time with children who underperform, with children who, I mean, we just look at this, apply it to COVID. Yep. Who's accountable for that? Who's accountable for the children being masked and learning by Zoom for, how long was it? Was it a year and a half, depending on the school district?
Yeah.
A year to 2 years? Those kids never get that time back.
Yeah.
Does this girl ever get, does she ever get those years back? I know some people say, well, it was consensual. Okay. All right. You want to go with that?
Yeah.
You think that these men who were there and were there for good reason didn't target someone very specifically who they thought was vulnerable? That's what they do. These people target the vulnerable, or they target weaknesses within a system that they can exploit. They are lifelong criminals. And a minor should not be put in proximity with these people. So we know that this shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
To me, it's that nobody seemed to want to do anything. Your blood boils when you make a phone call and they go, I'm not going to talk to you. Talk to this person. That person goes, I'm not going to talk to you. Talk to this person. And I don't know how many dozens of calls. I know there were at least 24 just on that one topic. And nothing gets done. This is why there's a need for investigative journalism. This is why there's a need. And by the way, you know what else? This is something, I'm really proud that the Mug Club Undercover Unit did this. This would never be done by a lot of undercover journalism units. You know why? Because they're all funded by nonprofits, a lot of them. And so if you have a donor, they're going to go, well, why do I care about this story? It's not about just the isolated incident. It's about the system. You hear this from the left all the time, though they want you to believe that we are systemically racist and we have a systemically prejudiced system. No, we have a systemically corrupt system. Not only corrupt, but we have a system that bars people from exposing corruption. This is just the example that you've caught, that we now know of. There are a lot of unknowns as far as how many other people may have been, how many other have experienced something like this? How many have been, you know what you don't know? You don't know if a minor has been exposed to a situation like this and was intimidated into silence.
Exactly.
I'm willing to bet with violent inmates, they're pretty good at it with 17-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely. And some poor persons out there that could be living with this secret that is ruining their life. Right. Out of fear. Like, and this isn't the only program like this in the country either. Like these kinds of programs are all across the country. We could be talking about tens of thousands of people where the norm kind of, this could possibly happen, is acceptable to be around convicted murderers. Right. People that have ill intent and the base precautions are not being taken. Mm-hmm. At the very minimum, the information about the risks is not being communicated to the parents and the students too at some point. Do you think they told all the rest of the students, hey, this situation happened, be careful, don't go in there? I don't know. I don't know that we have that piece of information, but if I was to venture a guess based on how they responded to us, my thought would be no. Because then that information maybe could be back to the parents, and maybe the parents would start pulling the students out of the program, and maybe the program starts losing funding. And maybe word gets out that this actually happened, and now the Marshall funding starts to dry up a little bit because now they're on the hook. Right. Saying, hey, no. These are the people that we pay you to put in there, and we want to make sure that we're getting what we're paying for, not putting them in contact with a vulnerable 17-year-old person that they can end up sodomizing in their cell and manipulating into bringing in contraband. This thing pisses me off because people had a way out. Right. This shouldn't have happened in the first place. Let's clean that up. That's pretty simple. Most parents out there, I think, would agree. You're a parent. I'm a parent. Tim, you're a parent. We would sooner bury these people under the jail when we found out.
Right.
Right. I get it. But you have a duty. People are in prison that you're guarding for not doing what they should have done. In this case, not murdering an individual, not robbing an individual, not holding up. They shouldn't have done all of those things. And if they had not done all those things, they wouldn't be there.
We're setting the bar.
Where's your accountability? I know, but these guys, where is their accountability? There is nothing that is going to happen to these people other than potentially maybe they lose their jobs. Okay, that's bad, but you can go on and do something else. This girl is going to live with this for the rest of her life. Sorry. She's going to have to live with this. And by the way, I want to know how this case was presented to the parents. What? And I'm literally just asking a question here. I'm not making a statement.
Oh, I can tell you how. I could guess, I should say.
I could guess too.
Because I'll tell you what's going to piss you off.
We'll make it all go away.
It's exactly how the response will take place in the media. They're going to blame her. For the people who are all champions of women and Me Too, they'll say, well, this was consensual and she was actually pursuing them. Well, guess what? Really? Young women can be manipulated very easily, certainly by lifelong criminals. So we talk about people who are vulnerable. We talk about, the power dynamics at play. If someone, for example, I don't know, ends up marrying their secretary, which you see. What about a girl? What about a minor in a prison with federal inmates who are murderers? They're going to say, well, the whole she was asking for it type scenario. And you know what, by the way, there may be some truth to that, but I don't know if you know this. A lot of minors don't know what they're asking for.
Correct.
They don't know what they want. That's why they're in a vocational program. They are trying to figure out their life.
Yeah.
And they need to do that. At least we assume. You can comment below if you feel this way. We assume that they are doing so in a safe environment. It's almost as though that is the purpose of school. The purpose of school is for people to learn and develop before they go out into the real world, in a world that's been somewhat nerfed, in a world where the corners have been rubberized, where it's a little bit safer, where they're a little bit more free to make mistakes. You don't throw them to the wolves.
No. And did they go to the parents and say, hey, your daughter has made a huge mistake, but we can make this all go away? Is that how it was played? Or did they go and admit responsibility for putting the person in the position that they were in the first place? Did they do it that way? I'm betting I know the answer to that question, but I really want to know how this was presented to the parents. Did you go in like a freaking coward and try to cover your ass and say, hey, don't make a stink? That's a question that I'm asking, because that would piss me off to levels that I don't know that I could contain.
Right.
Taking this situation and using it against the parents because you're scared of accountability.
Well, I would say expect them to attack the messenger, just like they did with James O'Keefe and Acorn when that happened.
Yeah.
Just like they did, by the way, with Andrew Breitbart at that point. We've talked about this. Not only was he involved with Acorn, but they attacked him on the Shirley Sherrod story, which was completely misrepresented. And they were ready to attack him and destroy his reputation and actually accuse him of completely fabricating the Anthony Weiner story until the proof was completely undeniable. So expect them to attack the messenger. In this case, that would be the Mug Club Undercover Unit, which is why we need support from you, and we appreciate it. LouderWithCreditor.com/Mug Club. We're giving Mug Club to you for $20 off with the promo code COVERUP right now. They will be. And there's a reason that our second highest line item is legal.
Yes.
Which isn't fun, but it is necessary. It's part of the infrastructure that has been built here. So if that's what happens, it sucks, but we're ready for it. We also do have down there on the ground, Brianna Morello, who has been in Ohio for us the last couple of days. And there was a little bit more to the story that wasn't necessarily recorded or on camera, some in-betweens. I was repeatedly told to read between the lines on some of these phone calls. So to fill us in on what that in-between is on the ground, Brianna Morello. Brianna, thank you for being there. I know you're live in front of the jail. Can you see and hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for being here. So let me ask you, what is it that you have actually been uncovering there? I know you've had some conversations that weren't on the record. Can you fill us in a little bit as to with whom those conversations were and what transpired?
Yeah, unfortunately, we wanted to go on the record with Chief Anthony Dwyer, but unfortunately, we were threatened with potentially being hit with criminal charges if we recorded our discussion with him. He did not want to appear in front of a camera, but ultimately, what you guys just discussed is what I witnessed. They are very dismissive of all of this. They view this child, this minor, as an adult. He shifted a lot of the blame onto her, saying that she, I brought up the fact that she was manipulated. It's very obvious in the letters that were sent to her that she's a 17-year-old being manipulated by these inmates. And unfortunately, he disagreed and immediately shut that argument down, saying that she is an adult and then holding her responsible for her own actions is something that needs to be done. So it was disappointing from that angle as well. But I thought it was interesting because I went in there and I specifically asked if I could get a tour of the jail to understand how it's possible that these interns, these minors, were allowed to kind of mingle around inmates, because it's such a bizarre story that you wouldn't really think would ever take place,
right?
Especially with an internship. And if you go to the website too, it says that they handle bookings, but there's no other details as to when they would ever interact with inmates. So they showed me the cameras, and ultimately for every one officer, there's about 90 inmates that they're searching over. And actually let one or 20 out at a time. And
Brianna, we might have to call you back. The line is getting a little bit muddled here. Do we want to try and call Brianna back, or hold on? Let me hear you one more time. I know you're on location. This is just part and parcel of it.
Yeah.
Let's get Brianna back on the line here really quickly, because it sounds like it sounds like Wally just had a conniption fit.
Yeah, we want to make sure that people understand the point that you're making. I think she was saying there was one person per 90.
She has important points beyond being a fetching lady reporter. So, everyone out there.
Yes.
Make sure.
Be nice.
Yes. Be gentlemanly.
Gentlemanly, yes.
They're not.
1 per 98. That's pretty insane. So let us know.
We got her back.
We got her back? Okay, Brianna.
There we go.
There we go.
Hi, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So you got
continue.
that right. Yeah. Yeah, one officer per 90 inmates is what they're overlooking.
90.
And ultimately, I mean, they can't see into the cells. They have, blind spots too. So it was bizarre to see that this intern is walking around and mingling with these inmates. And ultimately, when we talked about the sexual encounter that allegedly took place, I was told that she had just stepped into the cell and had engaged in a sexual interaction with this gentleman, and it lasted a few minutes, and then she just popped out, and that was the end of it. I was also told that their source behind all. Yeah. I was also told there was an informant who tipped them off. That's what Dwyer told me as well. And that's how they were made aware of all of this. But, you have the letters. It was very obvious what was going on. So this was preventable if these letters would have been acted on from the very beginning by this jail. Now, also, it's important to also understand the fact that, nobody wants to take blame here. You guys spoke to Chief Dwyer just a couple of days before I spoke to him in person.
Right.
And, he's saying, I think she's 18 now. I think. Well, he had time to clarify all that information, but never did. And I think that's what's really important about all of this, is that they're kind of pretending like they don't know the facts to all of this, but they've had the time to go over it. And unfortunately, they haven't. So that might be a way of just them being dismissive and not trying to take any blame in any of this.
Yeah, different standard. I wonder if that defense holds up if a guy there on trial says, I thought she was 18. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did the incident occur before she was 18? I don't know. Also, the county sheriff there, Richard K. Jones, if I'm not mistaken, is up for re-election this year, running unopposed, right?
Yeah, he's going in for a 6th term. So he's been here for quite some time. He seems to be popular, so we'll see how that goes. Also, I should note too, Dwyer also told me that the inmates here thought she was a CO. The intern was a CO. So they thought that she was an officer. So that's also really upsetting, because why would they think she's an officer when she is a minor?
Yeah, that would also mean she was
and they're
probably in close proximity with them rather often if they thought they could be lying. They are criminals, right? We don't know.
To protect themselves. Brianna, can I confirm one thing that you said? That the inmate was, that she was in the cell with the inmate for a couple of minutes during that sexual encounter. Is that what they told you?
That's what Dwyer told you?
That is what Dwyer told me, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that
All
she
right.
stepped in, she was in there for a few minutes, and then she popped out.
And they don't know about this until an informant tells them. That was the next thing that you said.
Correct.
Somebody told them that this. Okay, so let me just make sure that I understand this, because my mind is already blown, and I think it's about to blow up even more. You mean to tell me that a minor woman in a male prison area is off camera and out of sight and out of earshot for minutes, and nobody is sounding an alarm? Nobody even knows that happened? Do you know how long it takes to be killed by a murderer in a prison? Not 3 minutes.
Yeah.
What in the absolute hell are they doing there? If they should have cameras on this going, hey, she's going into a cell, guys. It's a minor, it's a female, it's an intern. We got to make sure that we watch this person. There's 90 killers essentially there wanting to pass the time in some way. Like, how is that possible?
Well, it also is relevant to my next question. Do we know, or do you know, Brianna, how many students are there in the program currently?
So right now it's summer break. So before they suspended the program, before this incident, there were roughly, I believe it said 25 seniors or 25 juniors. So there was roughly about 50 students in this program. This program was stopped, though. I know the PR person representing the tech school didn't really know whether the program was stopped, but the superintendent did tell us that the program was stopped after they learned about this incident. So we don't know if it's going to start up again. That's another interesting question. When I asked about it, she said, well, it's the summertime. I can't answer that for you. But I also asked too, and this was to Gerald's point just a couple of minutes before I came on, I specifically asked if parents were notified and how they were notified. And I was told I'd hear back on that question with an answer in just a couple of hours. They did get back to me on other things, but not that one. So I followed up again, and they still haven't told me how parents at the school were notified about this incident. So we don't even know how parents were told that this all went down. They could have been lied to. They could have, not found out the exact truth. The part that's just so mind-blowing to me is the fact that they all view her as an adult and as somebody who shouldn't really be seen as a minor. I mean, he kept saying, Chief Dwyer kept telling me that I believe she's 18. Well, you probably know, because you'd have to see ID before she comes into the building. You have to vet her before she comes in. So you'd have her date of birth. So it looks like they're trying to pin it as she's an adult and trying to distance themselves from the fact that she was 17 at the time of this incident, which is disturbing in itself.
Also, by the way, if someone is an adult but is under the care of your program, you still are responsible.
Yes.
Which, by the way, according to every resource that we have available, does not seem to be the case. It seems as though this person was clearly a minor and was 17 at the time of the incident, but it's still no excuse. Brianna, you have one more question?
Well, not a question, but just a statement that I want to make. Like this brings me to this point. Look, I want to know what the other parents know. If you have a child that is in this program in Butler County and you want to get in touch with us to give us some information on whether you were contacted or not, if this pisses you off, it pisses us off for you, please let us know. lwctips@protonmail.com. Shoot us an email if they communicated about this situation to you or if they did not. We want to know how this was handled so that people can be held accountable. And so parents will absolutely have the information that they need to be able to protect their children. That is what we go to bed worried about, what we wake up every morning prepared to do, is to protect our children and to make sure that they are safe and they are not being given the information they need, whether it's in Chippewa Falls, whether it's a Nashville Manifesto, or now whether it's in Butler County, Ohio. It's happening all over the country and it has to stop.
Right.
Yeah.
And Brianna, we're going to continue with you, unless there's anything that you specifically wanted to add. We're going to continue on Mug Club and take chats. I have some more questions to ask you. And before we go, I do want to note this with people who are watching right now. We brought you the story of the Nashville Manifesto, and then you had Chippewa Falls. And the consistent through line here is people knew better, and no one wanted to take responsibility. The more we know about the Nashville Manifesto, the more we know about Audrey Hale, the shooter, the more we know that this person should have been watched, the more we know that there were people in charge who should have known better and nothing was done. And in that case, you end up with 6 people who are killed. With Chippewa Falls, right, there was another manifesto. There was an Amazon shopping list. There was a cart. There was a plan. There was a blueprint. There were times. There were schedules. There were instructions on how to put together bombs. And then we had an administration that didn't let parents know. And then we found out that there was another manifesto out there where a student was proactively being targeted and threatened, and the parent had taken their child out of school. And when they asked the local school board why they didn't know, there still was no answer. There was no answer. There's no accountability in Nashville. There's no accountability in Chippewa Falls. This is just another example. If you are a parent out there, your children are your own. It doesn't take a village. It takes a family, especially now more than ever. When sometimes, not always, the enemy is within. They're not at the gates. They're inside the gates. Do not entrust your children to someone else for 8 hours a day, for 5 hours a day, for 4 hours a day, and certainly not into a program where there can be no accountability, there can be no transparency. It's a helpless feeling for a lot of parents out there. And you feel that, you sort of guess what's going on beneath the surface. But now you have 2, 3, 4 examples because of the undercover unit here where you don't have to guess, you know. And we're living one right now. It's not just about this story. It's about a system that exists that precludes accountability, that precludes a proper investigation. And who ends up bearing the brunt of that? You, or potentially your children. And that has to change. So please, if you have any other stories to this effect, send your tips to lwctips@protonmail.com. We will protect our sources. Here we will sooner not happily, but go to jail. Hopefully not in Butler County, because I haven't heard good things. We will sooner go to jail than reveal our sources. That's why we're able to do what we do. And none of this happens without Mug Club, Mug Club. You can join right now with the and get $20 off. You can just hit that button right there if you're watching on Rumble. We are going to continue with Brianna Morello. Thank you, everyone who's been here. Please do consider sharing this, getting it out there, because I'm sure that this is not a story that many people, or I should say some people, they'll have a vested interest in punting it.
Yeah.
And this young girl's story, if you want it to be told, it's on you. And the story of these public programs and public servants, if you're noticing a pattern, they're not going to tell on themselves. If you're out there, if you're watching right now, it's on you to get it out there. You can click that button on Rumble. If you are on YouTube, we're continuing on Mug Club, taking all of your chats as it relates to this story. But YouTube, you know damn well who you are. Piss off.
Maybe Jason. Maybe Jason.
That the longtime Trump ally will not get a cushy prison assignment, but is likely to serve time in a Connecticut prison where he could be placed with violent criminals and sex offenders, a prison that does not have individuals.
Look, she smiled.
Jesus.
Vote for, and you can assume that similar measures are taking place in other supposed democracies, can't you? You can assume that. Also, we'll be looking at another little magical moment where your friend and mine. Oh, is everything okay on Rumble there? Is the stream okay, guys? Oh, sorry, I was just watching the numbers. And as well as that, I'm watching Roxy Ann and Fat Bastard, that's spelled with a PH, and and all of you guys. Some people are saying Russell's ready for the draft. Yeah, the draft. Thankfully, it's not happening in the UK just yet. Do you think it'll include? I mean, like in Ukraine, they're dragging anyone. It don't matter what age you are, does it? I don't know, man. It seems that whether it's population control or just the general escalation of social fear, everyone benefits from war. Myself, I do enjoy the camo, but I don't enjoy the death. How about a sip of 1775, Rumble's own coffee, the sweet coffee of freedom? And I say that as a British man. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll be there for about 15 minutes. Then you're going to have to click the link in the description. Don't clink it. That won't do anything. It's like, cheers, link in the description. Cheers, WHO, for regulating us. And on that note, we've got a fantastic story about Pfizer, because we ain't in Kansas no more, Dorothy. That is the simple fact of the matter. Pfizer are being sued by the state of Kansas, and the attorney general of that state has got some marvelous things to say on the subject. If you're not an awakened wonder yet, yeah, it's a new mug, baby. Joey Spicoli Miles, if you want it. There's some memes kings in that chat. I have it on good authority. There's some people memeing amongst the Awakened Wonders. Become an Awakened Wonder and join us tomorrow, or no, Sunday, for our Westboro Baptist Church review, where now, as a Christian, I look back at my interactions with the notorious Westbury Baptist Church. But today we continue with anti-establishment rhetoric with the intention of galvanizing and unifying populations, communities and cultures across the world to oppose the globalist corporatists that would like to enslave you by making you believe in godlessness, nihilism, individualism, materialism, and ultimately a kind of banalized despair in favor of holiness. Let's get that off to a good start by checking in with the leader of the free world. You voted for him, did you? Are those Dominion voting machines work? You voted for him. Did the mail-in ballots out? You voted for him. Hey, I'm not suggesting that any offer on the table is a solution right yet. You know, whoever you vote for in the United Kingdom, I wonder what you're going to get. Whoever you vote for in the United States of America, I wonder what you're going to get. But this is the guy that's running things these days. And look, he goes well. This is about 15 seconds of Biden. There's about 15 seconds of Biden, and Biden seems all right. Yes, your dead relatives that voted for him, said Negligent Banana in the Awaken Wonder chat. Very good. If you don't like him, don't let your deceased ancestors vote for him. I voted for Quimby, says Green Pill Theory on Rumble. Well, here he is. Look, for about 20 seconds, Joe Biden's coherent. But then there's a bit where he sort of stumbles and descends into a quiet liturgy of incomprehensible murmuring that makes you question whether or not the system's working well.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure you're going to understand what.
It's like an unenthusiastic orgasm, like sort of an orgasm that you almost regret as it's happening. Like a 1980s orgasm that's taking place in the woods. Which is presumably how that literature got there. Well, I'd vote for him. You don't have to be dead to vote for him, but it helps. Now, talking about the weaponization of systems that were meant to serve you. The point of government is to serve you. Even if you don't have a Declaration of Independence, even if you don't have a constitution, in your heart you know, don't you, that the point of government is to serve you, from national government to these new unelected global governments. They tell you, whether it's your NATOs, your UNs, your EUs, or whoever it is that's demanding taxation without representation these days. The point is, this is to protect you, to serve you. It's for your convenience. You don't know what's good for you. You don't know what information to believe in. We see the legacy media machine delighting in the idea that Steve Bannon, who is a lucid, pellucid, eloquent communicator, even if you aren't into him. He's a person that understands the rhythms of politics. He understood what Barack Obama's decision to bail out the banks would mean, a rise of populism, that it would lead to the rise of leftist populism, and right-wing populism. Left-wing populism was consumed, devoured, fell inwards. We saw the end of the kind of anti-big banks Bernie Sanders moment, perhaps because it was kind of materialistic and anti-finance, but had no sort of moral priapism, had no purpose behind it. We saw Corbyn in our country rise up for a moment, only to be It
works pretty well. It works pretty well. We'll do a quick ad campaign here. Let's look at this code. All right, let me do this ad right here. Let's see which ones do we want. Love your head. Get my haircut tomorrow. All right, let's see. We got RxIT, which we did yesterday. That pays out pretty well. Sense review. Let's do that one again. Oh, it just came off. Rumble. All right. There we go. Make sure to download the Rumble app. Once you download it, search for My Channel and follow the channel directly on the app. This will make sure that you get a notification every time we go live. Click the link in the description or pinned live chat. To download the Rumble app on your phone, it's free. If you prefer to watch us on the big screen, it's also available for Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Roku, LG, and Samsung TVs. All you need to do is search for Rumble. Yep, just download that. Just click on the little QR code, and you're good to go. Back to your show.
Subsumed back into the blob. And here are the legacy media delighting in lawfare, as so frequently they do. This is a CNN piece of reporting on Bannon's jail sentence. Note the glee and joy with which Erin Burnett reports that Steve Bannon will be in a sort of a shared cell with monsters.
Breaking news, Steve Bannon denied his request for the so-called Club Fed when he's forced to report to prison. Sources telling CNN that the longtime Trump ally will not get a cushy prison assignment, but is likely to serve time in a Connecticut prison where he could be placed with violent criminals and sex offenders, a prison that does not have individuals.
Look, she smiled.
Sound is out of sync.
Smiled at violent criminals and sex offenders. Violent criminals and sex offenders, which I think is a good thing for misdemeanors.
Cells, but rather an open pod layout for inmates. And CNN is learning tonight that there is also a chance Bannon could be sent to New York City's infamous Rikers Island.
Rikers Island, what? Rikers in the house! It's a shout out to all of you that have served time in Rikers Island or in many of the institutions that incarcerate men and women across the world. Surely we will rise again. Surely we, the downtrodden. Surely the community of those of us that have known sin will rise again against these institutions of corruption. Will we? Will we? Important news. Global war is on the horizon as NATO marshals 500,000 troops as the US institutes conscription. Can't believe I'm saying that. It's been floated in our country too. They're normalizing conscription across the world. Also, though, Justin Timberlake has been arrested or at least arraigned for being drunk, driving under the influence, not being drunk under the influence. You can't. The drunkenness is the influence part of that acronym. Let's have a look at that.
Handcuffed, in custody, being led by police to his arraignment on a drunk driving charge. That picture exclusively by DailyMail.com. These pictures show Justin after his court hearing. Dressed down in a baseball hat, jeans and sneakers, Justin was snapped leaving the courthouse after he was arraigned and released.
Drama, a lot of grandeur. A lot of majesty, warped majesty. He was seen, he's been, there he is. What has he done? Exclusive Daily Mail. It is important, but also I'd like to draw your attention to this. There are 500,000 NATO troops that are ready, highly ready, on the border, waiting to go to war with Russia. Let's have a look at that now. Let's look at that on the screen so that I can read that. Good, thanks. An official with the North Atlantic Alliance says the bloc has exceeded its goal of placing 300,000 soldiers on standby for a potential war with Russia. The announcement comes as NATO members significantly escalate support for Ukraine, bringing the alliance closer to a direct war with Moscow. Or as you would say in America, Moscow. Never understood that, but you do it. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said allies are offering forces to NATO's command at a scale not seen in decades. Today we have 500,000 troops at high readiness across all domains, significantly more than the goal that was set at the 2022 Madrid summit. Is this good news? Is this good? What's that mean? It says significantly more than the goal that was set. So what is the goal actually? Is the goal the troops or is the goal the war? Let me know in the Rumble chat. If you're watching us, on YouTube, remember to subscribe and remember to turn on notifications, or you simply won't know when we're doing this. We'll be here for about another 5 minutes, then we'll be exclusively streaming on Rumble. We're talking a lot more about this war that potentially you're going to be fighting, unless you're very old or very decrepit, or I mean, man, I don't know. Like, if the whole of the lockdown and near mandating of those medications was predicated on the preservation of human life, perhaps this will be similarly ubiquitous and all-encompassing. The arms of war flung around us all, 500,000 troops, everyone available for conscription potentially. The alliance hit its goal as members significantly ratcheted up support for Kiev in recent weeks. The US and several other nations also recently gave a green light for Ukraine to use their weapons to strike targets inside Russia. President Vladimir Putin recently blasted Western leaders for placing the world on the brink of a larger war. We've come dangerously close to the point of no return, he said. Dangerously close to the point of no return. This is whoever you are, whether you are Jan 6 was an insurrection or Jan 6 was a great day out. Whether your BLM were riots and should have been banned, or BLM was a necessary measure to confront the realities of police brutalities. Whether you're a Keir Starmer, what a guy, or Nigel Farage, don't even try. If there's going to be an apocalypse, it's going to involve you. We are dangerously close to the point of no return. But the big question is Justin Timberlake also dangerously close to the point of no return?
With no bail early this morning in the ritzy enclave of Sag Harbor, New York. His arrest for DUI comes just days after Justin's world tour pulled up stakes out of Florida.
You do wonder, don't you, if the world of celebrity needs to continue quite so fervidly, given that we've got some pretty important things to contemplate and consider together. Amidst all this salaciousness and stomping and the giddiness and excitement of these distractions, isn't it worth considering for a minute that there are some pretty serious things for us to countenance?
Let me hear you sing Justin was pulled over this morning at 12:37 a.m.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
12:37 a.m. What was the exact time this happened?
By police after he blew a stop sign and was...
Wait a minute, you've gone past the stop sign, 12:37 a.m. You better not have been...
Well, these ones that I've got up, they're regular.
This new surveillance video shows him driving on Main Street.
Quite well, I think. I mean, whether he's been drinking or not, he's handling Main Street, I would say, responsibly.
About a half mile from where he was pulled over. The video posted to Hamptons.com. Our source tells us Justin was cocktailing here at the American Hotel in Sag Harbor. That was ironically right next to the local police headquarters and the courthouse.
It's not ironically.
Chris is saying
you could go directly from the American Hotel to the police house and fire department, because it does also say fire department there. And then he could go to the court. It's actually convenient rather than ironic. I suppose, look, let's not get too caught up in this. I'd like to know further details. I'd like to scrutinize with more detail. I want to get to the bottom of exactly why Justin's doing this and what his wife might be doing. There's so much more to understand. But I think it's also worth just considering for a minute whether or not the next elections could potentially be a moment where we, I don't know, somehow oppose the goals of globalism. In this instance, I mean globalism in the form of NATO, which are meant to be just a defense keeper. They're a defense organization. That's what NATO is about. It's a defense alliance. It's an alliance that's about defense. Why they got 500,000 people, why they seem to be issuing statements. There's a lot of stuff going on that seems to be beyond the remit of defense. The US took a significant step towards preventing a future American president from curtailing weapons transfers to Ukraine by allowing NATO to coordinate the arms shipments. So that's not going to be handled by the US. Your tax dollars are going to pay for it, but now NATO are going to coordinate the shipments. Washington and some of its allies are concerned that former President Donald Trump will end military aid and seek a diplomatic settlement to the war should he return to office. Oh no! Donald Trump is seeking a diplomatic settlement. Don't you dare. Don't you dare seek a diplomatic settlement. I was looking forward to that war. I've been so coached and coerced into the idea that Donald Trump is bad and nothing good could ever come from Donald Trump, that the words seek a diplomatic settlement have got to become objectionable to me. Donald Trump, day one, diplomatic settlement. Day two, Rachel Maddow. Is she going to go into one of these internment? I mean, like, what is it now that we're concerned about? I'll tell you what I'm concerned about. Justin Timberlake, exactly what that guy is up to.
The courthouse, where he was arraigned just hours later. Joining us from our affiliate in New York, Fox 5, Jody Goldberg, who's in Sag Harbor. Big summer population, very small town. It's not even a town to sip and drive.
To say word spreads quickly here, that would be an understatement. The consensus is, why didn't he just take an Uber?
Yeah, why didn't you just take an Uber? Yeah, they're really enthusiastic about this story about Justin Timberlake, aren't they? Justin Timberlake used to be on that Mickey Mouse Club. Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, New York, what was it called? NSYNC. Justin Timberlake. I met him that time when I was doing Trolls. Perfectly nice person, perfectly nice human being. This isn't a condemnation or attack on Justin Timberlake per se, but the entire nexus of interests that are coalescing around this matter. Pretty extraordinary, isn't it? What are these institutions of media? What is the function of the judiciary? How come Justin Timberlake gets cuffed in front of his body? Whenever I've been arrested in that country, they put my hands behind my back.
Why didn't he have a driver? He told police he just had a martini and he was headed home. Obviously, he didn't make it because he was pulled over. He was driving a 2025 BMW. He had a Tennessee driver's license. He handed it over to the officer and he had bloodshot and glassy eyes. He smelled like alcohol. So after he performed poorly on that roadside sobriety test, he refused 3 times to take a chemical test.
You need some sort of legislation to prevent Justin Timberlake being able to avoid using simple refusal and non-compliance participating in these tests. And you also need some administrative regulatory body to step in as well in the event that democracy could be used to bring about something as appalling as, I think we were still on the last one, weren't we? I think. Bring about like a diplomatic settlement to war. The bloc adopted the new policy during a meeting of NATO's defense ministers on Friday. One official told AFP that the move was meant to prevent Trump from changing US policy. It is about Trump-proofing, and that is what Stoltenberg says, protecting it from the winds of political change. The winds of political change means the will of the people. Remember when our Lord and Savior said, the Sabbath is that man is not made for the Sabbath. Sabbath is made for man. NATO is not meant to be in charge of everything. NATO aren't meant to be making decisions about whether or not you go to war. NATO are meant to be merely administrating, along with your government, along with your supposed leaders. The idea, in fact, of leaders as servants is an idea that we might want to investigate. If you're watching us on YouTube, click the link in the description. We're going to finish off this story about being guided, ushered, let's start the countdown now, ushered into a potential holy war. Not holy war, this is very much a secular war, but we'll get to holy wars. God knows there's enough opportunity for those as well. Click the link in the description. If you're watching us on YouTube, remember to subscribe there and turn on the notifications there. And come on over, because we're going to be talking about Kansas and Pfizer. It's a fascinating story. The admission that Pfizer jabs cause miscarriage, and they knew that, is pretty electrifying. Join us. Click the link. If you're not an Awakened Wonder yet, become an Awakened Wonder now. You will see tomorrow our Westbury Baptist Church revisited. Remember that when I had Westbury Baptist Church on one of my TV shows? Having a look at that again right now from an entirely new perspective. But just wonder what Justin Timberlake's up to now, and I wonder what his wife's doing. If this deck don't work, then be ready to split from the gallery. I wonder what Justin Timberlake's up to.
Test.
Justin's attorney, Ed Burke Jr., tells us that refusal automatically suspends his license by the DMV in New York. Justin's next court date is set for July 26th, the same day he's scheduled to perform overseas in Poland. Justin is currently with his Poland in NATO. Does make you wonder, doesn't it? Have a look at this, because you're going to be drafted. There's a potential that you'll be drafted. Could you refresh the Rumble chat for me, guys? Thank you very much. Yeah, you're getting drafted. That's a potential reality. Our government is planning a big draft, conscripting millions of young Americans for an even bigger war. I call to your attention a Democratic amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, which was slipped into the almost $1 trillion Pentagon war spending bill. $1 trillion. $1 trillion. I just feel like that's quite a lot of money, isn't it? Is war a priority for you right now? You know what I'm beginning to sense is that what people care about at the moment are protecting national borders and not being involved in foreign wars. If you had would they dare to hold a referendum on that? Would they dare to hold a referendum where they said, you know, I know in your country, America, people are talking about immigration. Immigration has been spoken about more in my country. And I've always felt that part of any edict around immigration should include the following. An assurance that the people that live in the country currently are willing to get along as best they can,
thank you.
freely, autonomously together. The recognition that there are invasive forces of a more pervasive and insidious nature that need to be controlled as well. Global corporate forces that have at least as much negative impact as unchecked immigration, and a commitment for nations like yours and mine, NATO countries, to stop their imperialistic gambits abroad, to stop intervening in foreign countries, to stop saying they need democracy here. We've got to give them some democracy. They're crying out for democracy. Like ChatterX in the Rumble chat asks right now, who wants to die for BlackRock? Who wants to give your life for BlackRock? What is the ideology you're being invited to die for now? Let's have a little look now. Oh, good, because one of the tools of tyranny is, of course, debt. And one of our partners is Zero Debt USA. Have a look at a message from them now. Debt can bring sleepless nights. Insanely high interest credit card loans and repayments are very difficult to make, almost impossible. There is a way out, though. There is a way to be free from the debt trap. You've heard me talk about this trap. Now here's a solution. The organization that used to be known as Pivotal Debt Solutions are now known as Zero Debt USA, and they have an aggressive, new strategy to end debt faster. Zero Debt USA cut or eliminate interest. They help you owe less and get rid of all of the letters, threatening phone calls, all that stuff. They find solutions to end your debt permanently. Talk to Zero Debt USA for free to find out how fast they can help you get out of debt and into some sensible financial management. Visit zapmydebt.com. That's zapmydebt.com. Zapmydebt.com. Thank you. Check the link, baby, because if you support them, they'll support us, and it might be helpful. So, yeah, listen, $1 trillion Pentagon war spending bill in itself pretty concerning, but the fact that it is also being used in conjunction with a kind of sly draft proposal is yet more alarming. So when the NDAA passes as early as this week, Congress will have taken steps to make automatic conscription the law of the land. Notwithstanding that the automatic draft provision will go into effect in a year, a presidential order invoking emergency powers and or an act of Congress could readily move millions from their civilian lives to the front lines of a war. There is no other conceivable reason to require more than 16 million American males to be automatically registered for the draft, other than to prepare for a large-scale war. So 500,000 NATO troops on high readiness for war. That seems pretty aggressive. Putin saying this is a significant advancement. NATO, Trump-proofing arms shipments. Putin saying, don't use American-made weapons inside Russian territory. America, in Biden, previously committing to never doing that, and now doing it, another line crossed, and conscription being slyly introduced. What does that sound like to you? It sounds like preparation for war.
And I can't help thinking, how's Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel going to deal with this?
Justin is currently with his family, who is also on the East Coast. His wife, actress Jessica Biel, spotted yesterday in Central Park shooting a new Amazon series, The Better Sister, with Elizabeth Banks. Both Justin and Jessica had just posted Father's Day messages 48 hours ago before Justin's arrest.
We're going to get married again tonight.
There have been concerns in the past about Justin's drinking. In 2019, he apologized to his wife after he was seen holding hands with his Hummer co-star during a drunken night in New Orleans. In 2014, on Oprah's Masterclass, Justin talked about a booze-fueled night during a performance where audience members threw bottles of liquor on stage.
I drank a whole bottle of whiskey that night.
Get it under control, Justin. Get it under control right now, I would say. According to the new automatic draft law, undocumented immigrants between the ages of 18 and 26, numbering at least 1.5 million, could also be conscripted if it were to apply to women as well as men. Conscription is under discussion in Germany and Italy, while at least 9 other European Union countries already use the practice to replenish their armed forces. This is, we've got a lot to consider. 1, 500,000 NATO troops. 2, NATO future-proofing against any possible electoral denial of their plans for global war. 3, draft happening again, 2024, where we're told that what we should be most concerned about are various cultural issues and demographic squabbling. We're on the precipice of war. And of course, is Justin going to be okay? Is he going to be all right? Is everything going to be okay? That's one of the questions. What I would say potentially is this might be a time for a radical revision of our worldview, where we might have to start looking at domestic political issues and global political issues, and the way that institutions such as the media and the judiciary are currently being used, the tendency of most democracies to offer you 2 potential candidates or even parties that are broadly comprised of compliant individuals that will support the bureaucracies that are ultimately controlled by global corporate forces. And if you care about controlling your borders, you should be protecting your nations from the most dangerous force of all, global corporatism and these peculiar bureaucratic bodies that are able to exert astonishing power, like NATO, amassing an army without consent, like your government, slyly, insidiously reintroducing conscription without it being really queried or questioned. That should be a bigger concern than Justin Timberlake's private life and potential personal problems. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat, baby, because it's got to be discussed. Before blowing a whistle, think very carefully indeed. Think carefully what might happen if you blow that whistle. For example, if you're blowing that whistle to say, hey, I'm a bit concerned about the safety standards here at this Boeing factory, don't go near any parking lots. Keep quiet, and I would say watch yourself. Watch yourself extremely carefully. The one good thing about Boeing's manufacturing being so inept is they don't just make airplanes, of course, they also make bombs. So maybe some of those bombs won't be reliable, and, you know, maybe there'll be less dead children. But the fact of the matter is that Boeing are apparently being taken to task in what can only really be called a show trial, a kangaroo court, where we have the appearance of justice rather than justice itself. Let me know what you think about this in the Rumble chat, you guys. Someone's asking, what's the Awakened Wonder code this month? You can post that in the chat, because you get a month free if you use this code. Be sure and click that. We're just about to post it now. Here's the Boeing CEO apologizing for the company's shortcomings. Let's have a look.
The CEO of Boeing came to Capitol Hill ready for tough questions. Before his testimony began, David Calhoun turned from the witness table to apologize directly to the families who lost loved ones in 2 Boeing 737 MAX crashes.
Remember when we saw this exact thing before, when Mark Zuckerberg was appearing before some committee, probably to say that Facebook needs to be heavily regulated because of all the risks it poses to children if it's not heavily regulated, and we're not heavily regulating it in order to censor information that might make you behave outside of the preferences of the establishment. Do you remember there was exactly this moment?
They were shooting a movie over
held
in
up.
front of the casino.
Look,
yesterday.
look. And it's sort of like a circus of shame. It's the appearance of
30-minute detour
justice.
for me to get
Again,
on
the
75.
theater of the judiciary, the theater of democracy, rather than the thing itself. Do any of you imagine that Boeing are going to face real consequences and face real justice when they make, I'm guessing, pretty significant donations to the Democrat Party? Do you imagine that the lobbyists that pullulate and throb through Washington, D.C., have not managed to mitigate any potential negative outcome? Do you imagine a significant partner like Boeing are really going to suffer serious legal penalties? Is this going to lead to anything other than a slap on the wrist fine and business as usual? And we know what business as usual means. It means protecting the interests of the powerful, ensuring ordinary people continue to squabble. It's pretty extraordinary.
I apologize for the grief that we have caused. And I want you to know we are totally committed in their memory to work and focus on safety. Our culture is far from perfect, but we are taking action and we are making progress.
David Calhoun took over as Boeing's CEO in 2020 after the two crashes of the MAX jets in Indonesia in 2018 and in Ethiopia the year after. 346 people were killed. The US Justice Department is weighing up whether to prosecute Boeing, even as the company...
Shall we prosecute Boeing, or shall we maybe let this slide? Let me talk to the numerous lobbyists with whom I have intimate relationships.
The company insists its processes are changing. A pursuit for answers, a process playing out on several fronts.
So again, I'm sorry.
So many people have pointed out that often these kind of trials are actually PR exercises designed to rehabilitate major corporations or important establishment figures. You know, is Fauci ever really going to face justice for the madness that went on in the pandemic? Is Mark Zuckerberg ever going to be forced to break up Facebook because it functions essentially as a monopoly? And will this dude from Boeing or Albert Bourla ever really have to answer difficult questions or face proper penalties for their actions? Or will we continue to be beleaguered and inveigled by senseless distractions and celebrity? You tell me, Ooga Booga. You tell me, ChatterX. You tell me, Lily Girl Farm. You tell me, all of you awake and wonders over there. All you awake and wonders over there. Let me know. Let me know, baby. Amid new whistleblower revelations of Boeing's systematic sacrifice of passenger safety to boost profits, Democratic-controlled Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations held a hearing Tuesday aimed at rehabilitating the mega corporation and military contractor. It's been more than 5 years since a total of 346 men, women, and children died in two separate crashes just months apart. Part of the problems with a particular aircraft that had a defective automated anti-stall system that the company knew to be potentially deadly. All right, they knew that that system was potentially deadly. They knew it, and they carried on anyway.
Okay.
You'll be familiar with the famous GM story, won't you? That they knew that there was 40 ignitions in many of their vehicles, and they calculated the cost of recall, and maybe that was $10 million, and they calculated the cost of compensating people that maybe died because of 40 ignitions, and guess what? It was a lower number. So they went, well, we'll just let people die. These kind of calculations are commonplace. In a minute, we'll cover the Pfizer story, and you'll see a breathtaking example of how these kind of psychopathic calculations are made. Who among us believes that these organizations behave morally? When you read a statement from Pfizer or Boeing or whatever, in fact, the whole point of branding is to kind of personify a for-profit or potentially on occasion bureaucratic entity. But if a person did that, if a person knew that their actions would have lethal consequences, you know what the outcomes would be, unless, of course, you were a nominated hero of the establishment. Then, you know, like many of the people in the public eye that have participated in mass slaughter, you would be celebrated, laureled, and lauded as a hero. Boeing are going through a PR exercise, not a tribunal trial. There have been no criminal prosecutions of the company or its executives. Instead, in keeping with the modus operandi of capitalism and the rule of the corporate financial oligarchy, Boeing has been allowed to continue violating federal safety regulations and cutting production corners in order to boost its bottom line and shore up its stock price. How often do you think this story plays out? Remember your East Palestine train crash a year ago or whenever that was? Do you think that the similar interests are at play? Think of any environmental disaster or any human disaster and think about how state institutions like the judiciary or whatever Senate subcommittee, this one permanent subcommittee, whatever is being deployed, whatever bureaucratic device is being deployed, how are they going to act independently? In the same way that the FDA is funded by pharmaceutical companies and therefore cannot successfully or meaningfully regulate pharmaceutical companies, how can these organizations claim to be objective? The whole point of this is to ensure that the system slickly continues providing us with a sort of a convenient and enjoyable spectacle of justice. They know what the principles, virtues, and values we aspire to are, and as long as they can give you a facsimile of that, they're satisfied that we won't ask questions. But Boeing has taken it so far to the edge that now these questions are out in the open. Instead of in keeping with the next page is a series of whistleblowers have come forward to denounce the company for ignoring production standards in order to increase output and for threatening or exacting retaliation for their efforts to uphold legal requirements. Since January, 2 Boeing whistleblowers have died under mysterious circumstances with very little attention paid by the media. We're kind of incapable, aren't we, of maintaining focus. Oh yeah, I do remember that whistleblower died, and then didn't another whistleblower die? I can't maintain interest in it. It moves past so fast. Tuesday's Senate hearing was stage managed to give the appearance of what the subcommittee chairman Richard Blumenthal called a reckoning for Boeing and the featured witness, CEO David Calhoun. There were criticisms directed at Calhoun from politicians of both parties, but the entire procedure was a charade. Blumenthal called for a new management team to restore the company's credibility. We're here because we want Boeing to succeed. There you are. There you have it. That's the point. Make Boeing succeed. We want Boeing to succeed. A sensible perspective would be one of objectivity. We want to understand why you didn't address that faulty system that potentially led to deaths. Do you imagine that any of the hearings around Pfizer are going to be conducted with any more objectivity? Let me know in the chat. Do you imagine that? We're here because we want Boeing to succeed, he said, adding in reference to Boeing's McDonnell Douglas division, for the sake of our military, because, as you know, Boeing don't just make airplanes somewhat haphazardly, seemingly using extraordinary techniques, bubble gum and sticky back plastic and optimism. They also have significant military contracts. So principles like justice are going to be secondary to that. This is just another example of the psychopathic relationship between a state and its corporatized partners. Government can be a very, very powerful thing. A government that was operated in accordance with the will of the people, correctly decentralized, properly responsive, could be used to create communities that we might all succeed in. But government that has been co-opted and is clearly controlled by ulterior interests is a lethal, deadly, terrifying thing. You won't see justice, you'll just see more show trials like this one. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments in the chat? And do you think I should wear this hat? What do you think? Should this hat go on right now? Is it about time to... I feel like it is. I feel like I'll conduct the next part of this. I can relax now. We got another commercial, is that what you're saying? Let's have a look at this. Oh, yeah, you'll like this. Before we go into this fantastic story about Pfizer, you ain't in Kansas no more, Dorothy. Let's have a look at a contagion kit that can keep you safe without having to involve those lunatics at Pfizer. Have a look.
The wellness company are some of my favourite partners. Will your doctor even prescribe you ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine? Hey, I did it. The wellness companies
the frontline independent thinkers and communicators that make up this community. It is encouraging to see the Kansas AG addressing Pfizer corruption. Watch this statement And bear in mind that it's being made by a significant public official. This is not Project Veritas undercover doing a sting in a cafe with some guy plied up with booze, loose-lipped and therefore lethal. This is a public official denouncing Pfizer, asking significant questions about their clinical trials, about their refusal to be regulated during the Operation Warp Speed process, and perhaps most breathtaking of all, the fact that they potentially knew, likely knew, that their product caused miscarriage in 10% of pregnant women, that they encouraged to take their product, and yet continued to make the suggestion and endorse the idea that pregnant women should take it. Watch this Kansas City Attorney General, make that public declaration. It's pretty staggering. Let's have a look at it.
Pfizer marketed its vaccine as safe for pregnant women. However, in February of 2021, Pfizer possessed reports for 458 pregnant women who received Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine during pregnancy. More than half of the pregnant women reported an adverse event, and more than 10% reported a miscarriage, many within days of the vaccination. Pfizer also possessed information from its own.
They had that information, and they withheld that information. Presumably, not because it was important that pregnant women took the jab, because I struggle to understand the reasoning. If you knew that 10% of pregnant women were miscarrying and that 50% of pregnant women were experiencing adverse events and you continue to endorse it, why is it? Is that a significant part of the market? No, it's because by publicly admitting that pregnant women shouldn't take the jab, you are acknowledging that it's dangerous, even if it's just dangerous for one particular community or demographic or pregnant women. We don't need to get into whether or not they consider life in utero to be significant. What is their attitude to life in general to continue to promote jabs for pregnant women, knowing that there's a 10% chance that it will cause miscarriage? What's their attitude towards life? What's their attitude towards justice? If that was an individual human being, you would have no hesitation in calling them a psychopath. Figure out for yourselves what is elicited during the trials of prominent brutes during the immediate post-war era, where we're forced to reflect on the inhumanity of those figures, because they're individuals with names that can be personified to a degree and understood as individuals with agents. We are aghast when we hear what went on during Germany in that era. But when you hear that Pfizer have engaged in these kind of practices, because it's a kind of corporation, because it's a couple of years ago now, you kind of just accept it as the inert activity of a corrupt state in conjunction with corporatism.
She's had her concealed carry since before
This
that,
actually,
she had an ex-boyfriend that
groundbreaking, earth-shattering.
October 2020 study on pregnancy in rats, indicating that its COVID-19 vaccine was likely linked to infertility, loss of litters, and stillborn offspring. Number two, safety relating to heart conditions like myocarditis. Pfizer consistently denied any evidence of a connection or safety signal between its COVID-19 vaccine and myocarditis or pericarditis. Indeed, on January 18th, 2023, when asked whether its vaccine caused strokes or myocarditis, Pfizer chairman and CEO Alan Berla stated, quote, "We've not seen a single signal, although we have distributed billions of doses," end quote. A signal that he was referring to as a safety signal, which refers to a negative consequence. However, as Pfizer knew, the United States government, the United States military, foreign governments, and others had found that Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine caused myocarditis.
Kenneth K9, it's amazing because they won't even recommend pregnant women a glass of wine or baby aspirin. It's pretty extraordinary. It makes you at least entertain some of the more extraordinary theories that surround this. Like, what is the attitude towards life in general? Why is it that that was permitted? And how is it that this potential spate of legal actions will be nullified.
And pericarditis. Number 3, effectiveness regarding variants. Pfizer also claimed that its COVID-19 vaccine protected against COVID-19 variants, even though data available at the time showed Pfizer's vaccine was effective less than half the time against variants. Finally, transmission. Pfizer urged Americans to get vaccinated in order to protect their loved ones, clearly indicating a claim that Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccination stopped transmission.
You're pregnant? You better stay away from shellfish and soft cheese. Here, have this injection. How many people miscarry after this? I don't know, half.
Of COVID-19. Pfizer later admitted that it had never even studied transmission of it after its recipients received the vaccine and whether they could say it stopped transmission.
Never even studied it for transmission. The entire arguments about vaccine passports, the whole moral idea that you had to take the vaccine for other people, that you had to be responsible, even the word vaccine instead of the term gene therapy, all are up for reckoning now. But more significant than that, in your country, in my country, in many countries, there are elections right now. Do you think that this subject is going to be discussed? Do you think it's going to be analysed? Do you think that you're going to see justice? Do you think you're going to see compensation? Do you think you're even going to see the real figures? Do you think you're going to get a proper conversation about excess deaths? Do you think that you are going to be able to extrapolate the probable, possible, necessary conclusions that even this information leads you to? You can't trust the state. You can't trust the media. You can't trust the judiciary. They are a peculiar glom of corrupted interests, now engaged only in the theatre of the principles that they are supposed to represent. Those principles are lost. Those principles are gone. Those principles are dead and buried, miscarried. Not only was it causing a miscarriage of human life, but justice itself was lost during that pandemic period.
After making these misleading statements, Pfizer also engaged in some censorship attempts. Emails reveal that Pfizer officials coordinated with social media platforms to censor any speech critical of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine safety and effectiveness. It should also be noted that Pfizer elected not to join the federal government's vaccine development program known as Operation Warp Speed and declined that development funding. When asked about that, Pfizer's CEO, Albert Bourla, said Pfizer did not participation in the program in order to, quote, liberate, end quote, Pfizer's scientists and to avoid government oversight of its vaccine development.
Have to liberate our scientists. Our scientists have to be free to express themselves. You might remember that Albert Bourla during the pandemic period, along with Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci, they were celebrated as heroes. Remember that if you were vaccine hesitant or didn't want to take that medication, it was you that was shamed. Do you remember? Oh, you're not a scientist. Or when did you get your medical degree then? Why are you being vaccine hesitant? They should be shamed. Remember the hysteria. Remember the creation of the categories of misinformation, malinformation, disinformation. Believe me, the pandemic period was an attempt, I believe, to pilot the idea of centralized authority, see how far they could go with shutting people in their homes, asking people to take medications that were experimental, how far they could go in censoring and controlling and limiting democracy. What we have now, I suppose, is the globalist, corporatist, new world order endgame. Next time, it will not be, I don't suppose, a pandemic or apparent medical emergency. It's more likely to be war. That's why it's so significant that we pay close attention to the discourse around the escalating conflict, in particular between Ukraine and Russia, that we continue to fund, that we are likely, if you just look at the bare facts of it, going to be participating in more explicitly, overtly and extensively in the coming years. What we have to learn is that there are playbooks and paradigms that are observable in real time now. Okay, so what really happened in the pandemic? They created hysteria and fear. They, at best, exploited a real disaster, stroke crisis, and potentially it's even more nefarious than that. They used the media, they used censorship, they used social media platforms, they used emotions like shame. People were arrested. People remember for a minute you couldn't go to funerals. Remember for a minute you couldn't visit hospitals. Remember that you were shamed if you didn't suddenly trust Big Pharma. Remember all of it. And then, gosh, if you can, don't get bitter about it or vengeful about it. Get smart immediately. Think, okay, it won't be that next time, but we do now know how they behave. So what's going to be the next event? What they'll probably do is, where possible, replace the governments in our countries with apparent alternatives that are a little more bureaucratically slick, tell us that we're perhaps closer to a solution and this is a new start and some hope and some change. And then we won't see. How can there be a reckoning? We won't see a reckoning because there can't be a reckoning, because to examine this information, to analyze the participants in this extraordinary event would mean revolution. It would mean revolution. So that you would never trust the legacy media again. You would never trust government again. You would never allow people to tell you what to do again. You would become ungovernable. And maybe that's what we need to become.
He also said, quote, "They want reports. I don't want to have any of that," end quote. Referring to they, when he said they, he was referring to the federal government. Pfizer's misleading statements contributed to success in marketing its vaccine in Kansas. By February of 2024, Pfizer had delivered over 3.3 million doses of its vaccine in the state of Kansas. This accounted for over 60% of all vaccine doses given in the state of Kansas. This suit is being filed today, and as I mentioned before, it is part of a multi-state effort in which more suits may follow depending on Pfizer's reaction.
There's a tornado coming, and we're going to be following that yellow brick road all the way to justice. We ain't in Kansas no more, Toto. We are in a world where there is the potential for justice. There is the potential for all of us to communicate openly about what we are observing, what we are learning. Remember what they told us then? Remember what we are seeing now. Remember when the pomp and hysteria was full-blown and widely spread, that if at that point you said, well, what's the impact of this on pregnant women? Don't you remember just conversationally at the time going, what pregnant women are participating in clinical trials? So how can they have data on pregnant women? How can we know what the impact's going to be in 5 years or 10 years? They haven't had 5 years or 10 years to experiment. So remember the kind of just, even if you think, oh, well, it was patented in 2002, even if you're investigating some of those extraordinary lines, what we're left with now is a fantastic snapshot, a kind of, I would say, well, I don't want to say a kind of intersection. We're now able to observe. We're able to observe, like through a lens, what the template is, how they deploy this stuff. Have a look at how this is reported on sort of somewhat local, at least statewide news in Kansas, and pay particular attention, not necessarily to the legacy media journalists. They're just sort of talking about it in seems like a pretty neutral way. But look at the statements from Pfizer. Look at how Pfizer still communicate.
Kansas is suing Pfizer over how it marketed its COVID-19 vaccine.
In the lawsuit, Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach alleges the vaccine maker misled the public about the risk of the shot. He also says Pfizer suggested the shot stopped the spread of COVID, then said it never studied if it actually did or not. Kobach says the lawsuit comes down to Pfizer allegedly withholding information and deceiving the public, and says companies are obligated to be honest.
And our Kansas Consumer Protection Act is all about that. It's about you do not deceive consumers. And you especially must not deceive consumers when consumers are making an urgent, frantic decision, believing that their life might be on the line.
Kansas is the first state of several to file a suit. In response to the allegation, Pfizer said in part, quote, the representations made by Pfizer about its COVID-19 vaccine have been accurate and science-based. The company believes
accurate, science-based. 6 feet, it just kind of appeared out of nowhere. Remember when various experts said that they made their decisions based on what people were doing in other states? I think that was Mandy Cohen specifically. Remember the fact that many politicians, certainly in my country, had parties, not just the governing party, the Conservatives, but also the presumed next Prime Minister. He had his own little work gatherings during that period. It was nullified. He's the new nominated globalist leader now. So those kind of things are going to be overlooked. The reason this story is important is because it shows you can never trust them again. It shows you that non-compliance is the minimum we should be offering, and outright disobedience would be more optimal.
that the state's case has no merit and will respond to the suit in due course.
Extraordinary. Let's have a look at Bobby Kennedy, who's been pretty effective on this subject for a long time now. Bobby Kennedy is, I would say, battle-proofed. He's been through this, battle-tested. He's been talking about this for a long time. here he is on an online news platform talking about this extraordinary period and the significance of these legal actions.
The pharmaceutical industry is not a trustworthy industry. It's a criminal cartel. And I don't say that lightly. The 4 companies that make all of the vaccines, the 72 vaccines now mandated for our children, all of them in their other products have paid, I think, $79 billion in criminal penalties. They haven't paid anything with vaccines because vaccines are immune from liability. So you cannot, no matter how negligent that company is, no matter how reckless they are, no matter how grievous your injury, you can't sue them. And you know and I know that if you tell a company that we can sue you if you do something wrong, they're going to be more careful about it. So what if you could tell Merck, here's a product you'll never have to, no matter what happens, no matter how sloppy you are, no matter reckless, no matter how toxic the ingredient, you'll never have to pay anybody any downstream liability.
The perfect conditions were created during the pandemic era to bring about the crisis that we all endured. Now the perfect conditions are being created for us to forget all about it and move on. Remember, next time it's unlikely to be a pandemic. It won't be a direct repeat of what previously occurred, but it will likely be a crisis, the inability to openly discuss that crisis, the amplification of fear and terror, isolation, atomization of communities, and the imposition of more and more authority. When you have organizations that are willing to ignore and suppress evidence that their products cause miscarriage, because to admit that publicly would create doubt, if the truth creates doubt, you have to tell the truth anyway. We've been given a kind of red line now, collectively, I would say. And the very fact that we continue to be compliant is an indication of where we've gotten to, that we live bewildered, beleaguered, and distracted in a kind of 360 ambience of near total control. And in all likelihood, without some direct change, some inner change, without some calling, without some connection, without some willingness to form new alliances, without a deep willingness to look at things differently, it doesn't seem there's very much hope. In fact, you are the only people that give me hope. You, with your willingness to criticize, to be critical at least of power, but a willingness to, I pray, to move beyond the hatred and division that's so easy to lapse into when you're scared or when you're angry, and to a place where a proper and positive response might be possible. At least that's what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and chat? Hey, where's that golf video? We'll show you some of the things we've been up to. This is what we've been up to on the Awakened Wonder world. So have a little look at that. People like Blessed Old Bird and Mrs. CMS and Phineas MC, they've been enjoying this kind of stuff for a while. We've got some interesting people coming up on the show. We've got a variety of bishops and a man who plays Jesus himself coming up very soon. In the Awakened Wonder community, we get a little more intimate. Stuff like this goes on. I've come to a mini golf tournament. Maybe one of the risks is that there are live alligators on the golf course. Seems like an unnecessary obstacle. I thought it might be like a windmill or something like that, not like you're going to be attacked by reptiles. It's like the assassination of JFK. It's like that you shoot there.
Also, couldn't you just do that?
Oh! Oh! Tomorrow, talking about the forthcoming elections, and we're going to be talking about some of the deeper rhythms and patterns behind it. We're going to be talking about media reports, conflicts and contretemps around the Middle East. Is it possible that war could be resolved? And is it even possible that people could come to a conceptual consensus around what's going on there? It continues to be an extraordinary subject. Become an Awakened Wonder for greater access to our content. Join Synchronicity 525 and so many glorious people. Yes, Skyrider 7, there will be free hats involved. Join us tomorrow, not for more of the same, but for more of the different. Until then, if you can, stay free.
All right, my friends. I just pressed the Let's Go Live button over here on our back end. And did I get it timed all right? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I put that at East Coast time. Oh, what a doofus on YouTube. Sorry, YouTube friends. I scheduled it wrong, but we're live. So it's working. Let's see if Locals kicks on over. I think it is booting up and connecting the tubes on this beautiful and amazing Wednesday. Let's wait for it to pop on over. Come on, Locals. Come on. Come on, get on over there. It's about to kick off, which is great news. We've got some business to attend to. It's a beautiful Wednesday, my friends. You know what day it is. June 19th, or as some people say, Juneteenth. And we're celebrating Juneteenth on the day. We're not alone. President Trump is also celebrating this. They posted a little bit of a post about this on the official Trump account that we'll take a look at. And then we'll poke around. It's a slow news day for sure. Everything is closed. It's a federal holiday. So courts seem like they're closed. I haven't seen any new filings in most of the cases that we're following. And looks like C-SPAN is pretty quiet out there. Congress has nothing on the agenda today. We'll see if there's any letters or anything that pops off as the day unfolds. But we do have business to attend to. We got some election stuff. We got some Joe Biden stuff. He announced this immigration nonsense yesterday. We saw a little bit of that on the yesterday Membo stream. But we're going to poke around and see what's happening out there. Of course, say our hellos, our good mornings, and see how your week is unfolding. But it's a beautiful Juneteenth. Man, we don't like slavery here. We hate slavery. We're glad that that's over. And so I guess we're going to have a lot of Juneteenth stuff today. There was C-SPAN getting ready for some sort of seminar or something today. Here is what is cooking on C-SPAN. And did they just delete this? Where did this just go? I thought I just had this queued up. Here it is. Let's see what they had here. National Juneteenth Observance Foundation hosts a Juneteenth celebration commemorating the federal holiday from the White House. And I thought this was supposed to be playing, but apparently that's not happening right now. So Juneteenth, commemorated annually on June 19th. Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration of the end of slavery in the U.S. After the Emancipation Proclamation that was entered by Lincoln in September, announced that on the first day of January 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state in rebellion against the U.S. shall then be forever free. It would take the Civil War and the passage of the 13th Amendment to end the brutal institution of slavery. And then, of course, near the end of the Civil War, there was a battle and a proclamation by a general on June 19th, finally enacting the Emancipation Proclamation. But then it wasn't until, right, because the Emancipation Proclamation was only for those states that were in rebellion. So then the Northerners ultimately eliminated it thereafter in the states where there were remnants of slavery still there. Anyways, all right, so that's Juneteenth. I thought that there was going to be something happening right now, but apparently it's not. I thought it was noon. Let's do a refresh and see. No, not happening. I don't know if they're not broadcasting it now. Looks like they pulled it off the schedule. So Joe Biden was out. He delivered remarks at the Juneteenth conference. And I think this was some time ago, actually. Let's see. A federal holiday that he signed into law. And here is just a little snippet of what he said on Juneteenth.
Giving you a front row seat
Let's go
to
to
democracy.
the front row seat to democracy. Got it. Was this when he was dancing?
Whoa.
When he was not dancing?
White House lawns never seen. Please have a seat.
Oh, gosh.
To have one. White House lawns never seen anything like this before.
This is 9 days ago.
That was outstanding.
But he's...
Thanks to all the performers here tonight and to help us feel the power of Black culture that is American culture. With a fitting tribute to Juneteenth. Now, I was proud to have made Juneteenth a federal holiday. And I'm grateful to the members of Congress who are here today.
He's got marbles in his mouth.
I'm not going to start to name them because I'll miss somebody.
Dude, take the
But
peanut
it wasn't
butter
just
out.
a symbolic gesture. It was a statement of fact. It was about a statement of faith. It was testimony of a testament to the resilience of generations of Black Americans.
Oh, it's so bad. Oh, gosh. He can't even talk. All right. So that was 10 days ago. We didn't play that here. I had not seen that. Maybe you had seen that, but that was his Juneteenth speech that he gave on June 10th. What? All right. So that's what's happening there. Now, Trump actually came out and had a post today on Juneteenth. This is the official Twitter account for the Trump campaign. It's X now. Hello. You're going to get banned by Elon. Be careful. Together, we will make America great again. 2.2 million followers. They dropped this one this morning. They said, today and every day of my presidency, this is Trump speaking, I pledge to do everything I can to continue that promise of freedom for African Americans and for every American. President Donald J. Trump. Happy Juneteenth. Here is the release from the president.
Etched in the hall that we passed today is a quote from Spotswood Rice, a runaway slave who joined the Union Army. He believed that his fellow African Americans always looked to the United States as the promised land of universal freedom. Today and every day of my presidency, I pledge to do everything I can to continue that promise of freedom for African Americans and for every American. So important. Nothing more important.
Black Americans for Trump, baby. Let's go. All right. So that's a good statement. And I think there's actually momentum here. We've seen that in the polls. We saw that clip yesterday from that guy on CNN who's like breathless. He was walking us through the polls. He's like, oh, there's a big swing here for Trump. I don't know what's happening anymore. I can't even explain it. And then the other CNN guy's like, oh, golly, you're right. That was pretty dramatic there. Back to you, Wolf. And so it was a fun exchange because they're trying to figure out what to do about this. And you've got guys like the mayor of Chicago Chicago. He's now investigating reparations for blacks and all sorts of interesting things, even though not really. It's like $500,000, which for a city like Chicago is like tip money. Okay. It's a rounding error. $500,000. It's like, are you serious, dude? We need $500,000 for parking, bro. So, all right. So they're trying to figure this out. And Trump is continually pulling away in the polls with this demographic. And I'll tell you an interesting story. This was something that happened very recently, but there are a bunch of local businesses around here. I live in downtown Phoenix, and there's a bunch of local businesses happening around here. And we went into a local business and met a woman, and she is African American. And this is relevant to the story because we're talking about this demographic stuff. And we're having this conversation with her, and she's been around here for over 20 years. Okay, she has a shop here, 20 plus years in business, and it was a fascinating conversation. We were just talking to her about how the area is changing, homelessness is sort of coming back, and it seems like there's a resurgence of it, talking to her about it. And I've been down here for about 3 years, and talking to her, and she's telling us, well, gosh, it used to be way worse than it is today. Going back 20 years, there are people on my bench here, people coming in here, urinating on the walls and stuff, but it's gotten a lot better, even though it might feel like it's worse. So give us some context. We're talking about this. Now, somehow the conversation then came upon immigration, and we were talking about what's happening in New York, because she's got family back in New York, and they live in some upper class areas, and her brothers and sisters, who also are black, are in these areas, and they're shocked. I mean, she's telling us, she's like, they're like shocked what's happening with immigration there, because we're talking about immigration and homelessness and all of the oversaturation of people to resources. And she's telling us about what's happening in New York. And I said, oh yeah, we're follow that. I follow that in the news. I know that they're going to New York in droves, and it is overwhelming the systems there. So it's not a border problem anymore, right? It's not an Arizona problem. This is now a national problem. And we're having this conversation about it. And her perspective, which was very curious, well, she shares with us, she actually showed us a video that her brother had sent to her. So her brother is in New York in an upper class area, says he's living with these, she's name dropping some people. He hangs out with these people, upper class neighborhood. And he's shocked because he sent her this video of just walking down the street, and there's all these tents all over the place, right? All these centers, or these people on the streets all over the place. I go, yeah, it looks familiar. It looks like, right over here. We have that over here. And it's interesting. They have an immigration problem too. And he's shocked about this. And the sister is also shocked about this. And they're saying that, wait a minute, they, as Black Americans, have built these communities for generations, for years, for decades. And now they're being encroached upon by other people who are demanding resources, demanding services, and demanding that they be dealt with, I guess, total love and acceptance. And there's a reaction to that. And she's telling us that her sisters and her brothers are saying, I'm not happy about this. I'm very upset about this. I'm thinking, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. And the story comes out and she says, my brothers and my sister says, I'm not happy with Biden, right? She volunteered this. She doesn't know who I am or what I talk about or anything. So she says, my sister says, I'm unhappy with Biden. I'm like, yeah, right? If that was a super chat that came in, I'm like, yeah. I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, really? What's happening? Oh, that makes sense. And then her response to that was, well, I'm trying to tell them that it really is the Republicans' fault because the Republicans are moving the people inland, right? We just kind of sat there. Okay, so we see where this is going. So she's still blaming the Republicans, even though it's happening here and the Republicans are shifting it inland, right? So okay, fine. That's her perspective on it. But her brothers and sisters in New York were recognizing what's happening, right? There would be nobody to ship to New York, which I don't think is really happening in spades anymore. I think now there's an anchor that's happened in New York, in Detroit. And so there are resources, there's an epicenter. So the people who do come across, they just naturally want to go there because they know people there, they know there's resources there, and there's a foothold, there's a beachhead in these locations. So it was a very, very fascinating conversation. And it was also interesting to listen to the dynamics of how this family was having this realization about what's happening from different parts of the country. She's lived in Arizona for 23 years and watched how this whole situation has changed here. And the same situation, there's like an awakening also in New York, which is kind of the point, because they'll sit there historically and lecture us, the border states, all these other people. How dare you be so xenophobic and bigoted? These people are just coming for a better life and you have the resources, so just deal with them. And go, what the hell are you talking about? Come down here for a little bit, see how it is. And now they're also waking up and going, oh, this is what you've been talking about? You're kidding me. So it was a fascinating conversation. And I think it's touching everybody, right? Everybody's sort of realizing this. So it's working because people are not stupid, right? There's nobody to bus in. The Republicans are not inviting people into the country and then busing them. They're just saying, no, if you want to go to New York here, hop on here. We'll give you a free ride on out of here. And they're now doing it in other locations, right? So I think Chicago's trying to get rid of people. New York's trying to get rid of people. We know they came up to Martha's Vineyard, and then Martha's Vineyard threw them out of there. So anyways, very interesting stuff. And if, you might be hearing some of the same stuff too out there. And if you are, we'd love to hear about it. Yeah, what's up? Crash just dropped a comment. So anyways, that's what's happening. So a nice statement from Trump. And again, I don't know why things have to be so color coded in America. It's just ridiculous. And the Democrats do this. We say it all the time. They treat people like trading cards. We got 2 blacks, 2 Hispanics, a gay, a trans, and whatever else is, the spirit people also coming in. So we don't need to do that. We want safe communities. We want good education. We want clean environments. We want secure borders. We want sound currency. We want no more wars. Like that's it. That serves all of us, no matter what color you are. So, all right, Trump is out there getting into it. Happy Juneteenth. Let's see, is Congress doing anything today on Juneteenth? No, they're not. Figures. All right, so they're not doing anything. We've got more reaction around. So let's poke around. Let's see what the president is doing today, because he was supposed to go back to Delaware, and we don't know what the hell he's doing over there. Apparently debate prep. Karine got asked about this. Remember yesterday, we're like, hey, it's only Tuesday, Joe. Why are you going to Rehoboth Beach, Delaware on Tuesday? Well, we've got a debate coming up on Thursday, so 1 week from tomorrow, which we're super excited about. We're going to live stream that from Trump Tower in Las Vegas. If you're joining us, hopefully we'll see you there on Saturday, not on the debate, but on Saturday, and we'll probably talk about the debate. Wednesday is the day today, the 19th. The president is in Delaware. And so the thesis is that he is doing some debate prep. And I thought I pulled Karine up I got a couple Karine clips. And yeah, here's what's happening. So Karine declines to say what he's doing. Like, what is this debate prep? Are they invigorating him with that adrenochrome stuff or that methamphetamines? What are they injecting him with over this week? Because he's got what, like 8 days from now before he's on the debate stage? Ready to go? Question for Karine. What's Joe up to, Karine?
And just on the stretch of days that the president will be spending at Camp David, how much of that time will be devoted to debate prep, and just what have you observed the president do in recent days in terms of preparing for the debate? Like, have you seen him going back to watch previous debates between the president and the former president?
They're jacking him into the matrix.
So as it relates to debate prep, that is squarely in the camp of the campaign. So I have to keep that there, and I'm not going to speak in details about that. And so what I will say is that while the president is at Camp David and Rehoboth, he certainly will be able to be to stay up to date on what's going on, to get updates from his senior advisors, from his team. As we say many times, the president could be president anywhere. We have the infrastructure to do just that. I don't have anything specific on how his time is being divided, but I can tell you this: the president's going to continue to stay squarely focused on his duty as president of the United States.
All right, so whatever that machine is where your skin just gets kind of sucked back into your face, and he'll come out, man. He might be he might be hanging out with Hunter Biden. He's like, all right, listen, Dad, I have the goods. I was just over there in Ukraine and China, so we're ready to roll. So we'll see what he's up to. Don't know that we're going to hear much from him at all, but he's getting prepped up, and we're listening to reaction from what happened yesterday. He came out with an immigration proposal, and people are not real happy about that. People are also unhappy about his performance with the economy. As you can see, this was a report that tells us that the economy is looking pretty rough out there. 72% of Americans say higher prices have been a hardship. Yeah. Difficult. Yeah. 63%, 2/3, says the economy is bad under Biden. Here is this report.
Voters are feeling frustrations with the economy.
I'm making more money now, but I'm more broke now.
Yeah, everything's
than
expensive.
I was in 2020.
In our latest CBS News poll, 72% of Americans say higher prices have been a hardship or difficult. 63% rate the economy as fairly bad or very bad.
Eggs, milk, bread, everything's really high, so that is a big ticket issue.
Yeah. She's right. Food prices, up 1% over the last year, have surged about 20% since 2021. Wages are up, outpacing inflation, and wealthier families feeling flush keep spending. But the less you make, the more you feel it.
I just noticed the increase in price on everything.
Voters are feeling...
Yeah, it goes up and up and up. And they keep telling us that wages are keeping pace with inflation. Is that true? Are people getting like 3% raises or increases every month? Are they up 20% on the year? I don't know if that's true, but that's a lot of inflation. So wages must be going up dramatically as well. Now we have some other fallout. So earlier this week, we had the Biden cheap fake problem, where Biden is evidently taken out of context. But it's more than that. It's almost like a deep fake because it's being manipulated. That was Karine's word. She said manipulated. And we said, oh, really? What pixels were manipulated here? How is it fake in any way? You might say it's out of context. You might say it's mischaracterized or something like that. But what is manipulated? We don't really know. So here's another one of these. This is poking around here. It says, wow, looks like the White House continues to produce these cheap fakes in real time. This was very curious, where this was Joe coming out talking about his new immigration thing. And you'll notice a couple people in the background right here. Here is Chuck Schumer, who is the senator, the Senate Majority Leader. And right to Biden's left is Mayorkas, the Homeland Security, Secretary of Homeland Security. So here is this little exchange, 9 seconds, another cheap fake where Joe Biden, I think, can't remember who his Secretary of Homeland Security is, who's standing right to his left. Here it is.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm gonna do shit. Thanks to all the members of Congress.
Okay. Okay, here, one more time.
Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure I'm gonna do shit. Thanks to all the members of
All right, so a lot of that is going on, right? And they're saying, wait, that's a cheap fake. That's ridiculous. This is taken totally out of context. Everybody is just being inappropriate. Don't believe the things that you watch. Here, Karine is coming out. They say, no, he wasn't wandering around at all. He wasn't making his way over to talk to the parachuter who had already landed. No, he wasn't frozen on the stage and Obama had to grab him by the wrist and take him to bed. No. He wasn't falling over and grabbing the King of England's elbow like he was being walked to bed like Granny. No, we're all just buying it because our brains are much smoother than Karine's.
I think you're right. I think there is so much misinformation, disinformation, as we've been talking about. You talked about the video of the president wandering, and it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering. He was talking to a parachuter that was right in front of him. And what you saw is the Republican Party really manipulating what was being said and what was being seen by the American people.
We manipulated what was being seen? What does that even mean? You saw the clips?
It's also very insulting to the folks the viewers who are watching it. And so we believe we have to...
You're being insulting. We saw it with our own eyes, Karine. Don't tell us we didn't see it.
Call that out. We've been calling it cheap fakes. That is something that came directly from the media outlets and calling it that, the fact checkers and calling it that. And so we're certainly going to be really clear about that as well. And I think
amazing. So she just explained, look. We had some consultant company come up with this phrase, cheap fake, because it's not really a deep fake, because it's not actually manipulated at all. So we'll just call it a cheap shot. We'll call it fake. We'll just kind of rebrand the whole thing. We'll just make this label up. Then they'll seed it in the media. So then some journalist gets it, and then she takes it, and she says, we got it from the media. And the fact checkers, who are all just propagandists who don't fact check anything. And then she's going to lecture us, the people who play these clips and talk about these clips and share these clips, as though we're part of the problem. And we're just literally playing what actually happened. They're the insulting ones. We're just showing the truth. All right, so that's Karine. Now, Brett Baer was not happy about this. He says, we haven't edited any of this crap. What are you talking about? The media finally getting a little agitated when the White House blames them for spreading disinformation when they're the ones who are doing it. Here's Brett.
What we do on this program is we let the tape speak for itself.
Yeah, just play it.
That is not manipulation. I think we're doing the right thing.
Stuart, good morning. I think you're right. We have not edited that tape. We have not edited any of these tapes. We've not sped them up. We have not changed them. We have not seen any change in multiple angles of the same video moment. It was not a deep fake for the former president to grab the president's arm and pull him. That actually happened in person. So there's nothing fake about it. There's nothing fake about the Italian prime minister grabbing the president as he turned around in Italy and gave a thumbs up to another a skydiver, but he pulled away from the group and the Italian prime minister brought him back in. There's nothing fake about him not dancing at the Juneteenth ceremony
or
at the White House and seeming being frozen. Those are all things that happened. So for the White House to say that this is a deep fake or a cheap fake is really interesting. And I think it's a moment, Stuart, that tells you how concerning the issue of age and competency is in the polls that they're looking at.
Yeah, finally. I mean, call these people out. It's like, hey, you're in the media. They're blaming the media. Green's not really talking about us, on YouTube and us live streamers. They think that we're irrelevant. But they're saying the media, the Fox News.
The third shift must be filled now too.
All right. Sorry. Okay. 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 Yeah. Well, like, if you apply, you can do it. What's your name? Okay, Justin. Christy. With a K? Last one. Oh yeah. I heard it crash.
Yeah.
You said you worked for us? Or was it a deco when you were there? Okay, I don't think it was us. So that's bad. I have a Christian for little Christina's with their last one. So
this Michigan Constitutional Crusader out here in Bryan, Ohio, with Lemmy Audit You. Right there's the Bryan Municipal Courts and City Hall. And here is the Williams County Community Offices. So we're going to see what they think of us. Board of Erections. Yeah, let's go in there. And yes, I said erections, not elections, just to be a smartass. How's it going? No, we don't need any help. Visitor log. Oh yeah, look at all the names. Public records. That's a lie. This is not a democracy. It's a democratic republic. Get it right, damn it. I don't know why the government feels they need to misrepresent the government all the time. It's a democratic republic, not a pure democracy. Oh, no, man. Wonder what this is. Williams County IT department. Oh, cool.
Let's go, guys.
Let's go.
This is supposed to close and lock. This is something to close. The door is locked.
Okay, I'll see you later, bro.
Yep. I just let you know it didn't lock. Yeah.
See you later, Bart.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
The Department of Getting Old.
We all need to do that.
See, the Department of Getting Old. Yeah, right. Yep. On the corrupt government.
What's that?
On the corrupt government. Yeah. Yeah, those bastards right over there.
What's what?
Those bastards right over there, the city of Bryan, they're trying to charge me with failure to ID when I never broke a law, and they never had reasonable suspicion, and the law requires them to have reasonable suspicion. So I have to go to court over there in about a half hour.
Oh, is it just you, or is there like a petition?
No, it's just me. Well, I mean, that guy's with me, but
I need the correct law part. That's what I was just-
oh, we go all over the place and do it. It's not just in Bryan.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
just curious, is there somewhere I could look it up? I would wait.
Yeah, my
You're
channel
not
is
right?
Michigan Constitutional Crusader is my YouTube channel.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they falsely arrested me and my son 3 weeks ago downtown because we were window shopping. And somebody called and said we were, what was the word?
5 weeks ago. 'Cause
Was it 5 weeks
It's
ago?
been 4 weeks since me and my brother were arrested in Fremont, Ohio for window shopping.
What is it, soliciting now, or what? What is it considered to be?
Oh, no, they,
Recording, right?
Yes.
they never charged him with anything. They just hotboxed him in the back of a police car for a half hour.
Yeah, put us in cuffs and put us in a locked police car, no air conditioning, windows rolled up.
Because the sergeant had his head up his own ass and didn't know what he was doing.
He has since resigned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They don't even know his-
Sergeant Jason Kitty is no longer a police officer.
Sorry, I didn't hear the bell ring.
Have to speak over, but talk to the chief of police.
Yeah, we root out the bad cops wherever we go. That's what we do.
And bad public employees. So we find them.
And we teach the ones that are willing to learn too. So, yeah.
This is an extension of the OSU, so I don't know if this is public or not.
It is.
It has public.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what we do. Yeah, they tackled my son and put him in cuffs, and then they drug us off to the 17th. And they drug us off to the holding cells and held us in there for a half hour and then released us with no charges. But then I got charges in the mail. It's retaliatory charges because they were mad.
So they physically like tackle him as a minor?
Mm-hmm. He doesn't look like a kid, so I'll give him that one.
What the other side of the coin?
What's that?
No, I said I wonder what the other side of the coin is. I would bring that up.
Well, somebody called 911 at this dress boutique shop down kitty corner to the police department. I walked up there and I got my camera about like this, and you couldn't see a damn thing, right? But supposedly there were people in there near that window changing.
You can't change that.
Exactly. That's indecent exposure.
Behind a curtain where it's just like a
There's
restroom.
thought there. You can't even dress there.
It's indecent exposure if they were doing it. Because if we can see it from public, that's indecent exposure. And if I happen to record them being that stupid, That's not voyeurism. They were trying to say it was voyeurism. So, yeah,
No evidence will present itself.
that's right. I got all the evidence I need to beat this. You have a wonderful day, man. That's a pretty nice bust. That's pretty cool. What? Can you say that again? I didn't quite hear it. I smell bacon. Oh, the persecutor's office. Oh, there's people in there. Oh, she's hiding behind her computer screen. As soon as she saw my camera. That's funny. Oh, yeah, don't tap no windows. I think by mistake bumping a window is disorderly. Get the fuck out of here with that crap. It says pull.
Oh, does it?
Oh.
I didn't see the pull thing. The only thing you're going to have to use your phone for is to.
Yeah, you can get rid of that gang sign right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, gang sign.
Blue Line Gang, largest standing gang in the country.
Yeah. A standing army that the Constitution says we can't have.
Okay.
If you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine. Well, that's kind of what we do. We shine a light. Oh, as a victim, I may qualify for
We're on camera right there.
compensation from the crime of the Bryan police.
Oh, yeah.
That's Lisa Nye right there.
Yeah.
That lady right there. Oh, yeah, we are on camera. Aren't we?
Yeah, right there.
Where's the camera? Right there. Where the hell is it?
Where is it? I'll send you some things. You can just do it on.
Oh, it's right here.
your computer as well.
There it is.
We're smart.
But that's a fingerprint scanner. That's a fingerprint scanner.
Well, she keeps smiling. We're up there. We're stars.
Yeah, star of our own show. Right? They shouldn't have made me come back, dirty bastards. Look at this. We can go down this hall because the restricted area sign is way over there at that next door. See, there's no signage here. And the door's open. Anything to see down there? No. It's just an exit outside.
Hallway walking in my videos.
Right? That's the 911 center. You can see the big screen in the back there. Right? Hmm. There's somebody. There's some people back there too. Somebody here. Yeah. She's watching the video, I think. Looks like it. Let's see. Oh yeah, totally watching the video. That's what we're paying this person for. To watch videos. Let's see what she watches. Boxes back there. What's she watching there?
Good. All right, let me send these now. I hadn't sent it yet. So just to make sure you got one to do.
Well, that might be a Zoom call.
Can I help you guys?
No, we don't need any help, thanks.
Okay, this is a state building and you can't be videoing this.
Yes, we can.
Who said that?
Yeah, it's a public building. Let's see what kind of narcissistic life she says.
Like up over the. Okay, thanks.
Every day.
See, public property. There's one person educated for the day. Have a nice day, man. Or not, whatever. Hello. Oh, Veteran Services. No.
Yeah, this is oh no, wait.
We didn't come in here. Oh, that's a cool picture.
All right. That's a nice picture.
Isn't it though?
Yeah. They're killing the couch because they don't know how big my feet are. Impact abundance system.
You just got a call about us. That's hilarious.
I'm not in your office. Is your office off limits? Oh, okay. Yeah, he should have been taken off the list, but he wasn't. We just sent a broadcast message to him. No, Okay, that's fine.
When I was
Yeah,
doing
I just texted right before he called you. So.
Computer off. I'm not here to try and get that information.
Okay.
Personal information on my phone or on my computer.
Okay.
Yep.
And
on my desk.
And
I have clients I have to see.
Hello?
wow.
Yeah, so if you've got personal information up, go ahead.
I'm not
and
recording
shut
the
it off.
computer screen. I'm making sure it's not in my view.
I apologize. Hey, Brandon, yes. Yeah, I apologize for sending you that
Did
text.
the jar fit your head or?
You should have been removed from the
Curious.
list.
I was not in brains. Okay. I just had to figure it out.
He's got an anchor. He's got an anchor on his
Yeah, I don't
arm.
know why. You're off the list now. You won't get that text anymore.
He was a seaman,
Okay?
an angry little seaman.
They're in my office now.
No, we weren't in your office.
Public office.
Your office is through that threshold.
You can connect to our desk Wi-Fi if you want.
Oh, he ran out of his office now.
Oh, for your direct deposit info?
That's the other guy. Right?
You got him?
He's smiling and waving.
So you just deleted him?
Let's walk around the back. That's where all the sheriff's cars are at.
Oh yeah. Emergency management.
What's in here? He's not in his office, but his customer is. Right. Oh, excuse me. Huh? Now, I'd only start taking pictures if you bump it while it's off. A motorcycle. Yep. Oh, look, they still have "In God We Trust" on the back of their cars. They still have "In God We Trust" on the back. You don't see that hardly anymore.
Cheryl sending them.
What?
I think Cheryl sent her.
Oh, really?
Huh, they have signs on these doors. Check your weapon, check your vest.
In here, and I have not talked to you.
They must have some real idiots working here if they gotta have signs like that.
The number that I would call,
I mean, seriously.
I text, and I don't know, was 419-726 in, she's right there, and it was a different number. So she called, and she said, "Do you call me to come here at 2?"
Oh, that maintenance guy?
And I was like, "I bet you that's Cheryl and not Sabrina." I don't know.
No.
Doesn't matter. What's she want? I mean,
And I was like, "So what position, what job?" Because we do have other parties.
Right, right.
We do like in the UG,
Right.
or I was like, "What job?" I don't know. I was just supposed to come at 2. I could, if you were to be like, "I'm here for the job," all right, I know that job.
Mhm.
Maybe I
yeah,
can
but
give
the
you more
person would
details.
know. The person would know the
Yeah, I'll
job.
give her more detail. I don't know. I don't know.
Even Sabrina would have given her details.
It's like a property room or
Yeah,
something.
I have my doubts.
Well, the property room is the part inside the fencing in there. The rest of this stuff is like for the work release and shit. All the vests and the coats and everything. See anything? Huh?
Past that coat against the
Oh
wall.
yeah, I see her.
Yeah.
She hasn't seen us.
Next
Busy
week.
working. Hmm.
Oh, next week.
All right, so we'll call this done. Look at that crap. City Hall. You can't even bring a cell phone in? What
For
the
Bryan
hell?
Municipal Court.
Oh, in the courtroom. Okay.
No.
Yeah, it says in the
Yeah.
courtroom. Okay.
Gotcha.
How's it going? Still breathing. I'm just looking around. Can we go through?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Everything out of the pockets.
Yeah. My belt you set it off?
Probably. You want the belt though? Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. My pants fall down.
No.
No free shows, guys. I'm sorry.
Is this where I say I don't want to see that, but I get it because I'm the same way?
Yeah.
We all have belts, right?
Right. And I've got it cinched as tight as it can go.
Same here.
For that specific reason. So I get that.
Changed too.
Just umbrella?
Yeah.
Not supposed to rain, is it?
Huh?
You got to show them the umbrella.
Yeah, I'll show it. Oh, I don't want to put that back on after I took it
What
off.
is
Batteries and stuff. My belt.
You guys are going to get a kick out of his umbrella. I have one too. Just not on me.
And that's an illegal search and seizure.
You handed it to him. It don't count. How's it going? I was just looking around. Thank you. What'd you say?
Can I help you with anything around the courthouse or
Nope.
anything?
Nope. We're just looking around. I got to be in court in 22 minutes.
Well, then you can check
Right?
Check it where?
Well, I'll still have to take this outside because I can't take it in there. So, or he can hold on to it for me, I guess, while I go into court. Or no, you can't take it in either.
No,
Oh, that's
I don't have to.
that's Wick. There's children in there. Is this where I come to ask about getting discovery on a case?
What you would need to do is you would need to file your request with the court, and then they would get us a copy, and then we would do what we needed to do to get you that.
Okay, thank you.
So are you work?
Not yet.
Okay, so when you check in up at the bank windows, that's where you'll do your request there, and then they'll get us a copy.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I take it the city hall has a separate entrance? City hall has a separate entrance? It's upstairs? Okay. Let's see, do I have time? Yeah, probably not. City hall's upstairs.
She's very young. She's right at her early 20s. That works.
Well, if we're quick, we got time.
I got work. Yeah, please, or whatever it is. I'm out of it today. Right there.
Something like that. I don't know.
What's she say?
She said, I like it because we're putting this on YouTube. She figured it out.
We gotta be quick because I only got 20 minutes.
Okay. That deputy was wanting to watch everything we were doing.
I thought he was gonna go run up the stairs to get up here before us.
I've been here for 30 years. All right, see you. Yes.
How we doing?
Good, how about yourself?
Three more. No, there's 3 more camera back.
How's it going? Just looking around.
Okay, no problem.
Cool. Oh, that's cool. They got a separate door for the taxes, so you have a little privacy when you're doing it. Sewer cleaning machine. Huh. Check that out. A sewer cleaning machine. That's cool. Cool old pictures. Huh. Mayor's not in today, I guess. Oh, that's cool.
I did a mini golf once in the Parks and Rec place. Had a little golf set up in an office.
Okay. If you give me the other things, I'll take care of that. And they'll give me a receipt or bill for.
This is multiplied the number of qualified.
I'm out.
I put 3, right? Well, no, because you gotta, 5.
But you said 6,000.
I don't know. No, there isn't. Hello.
Oh, pardon me. Bad timing. I didn't even see you come in here.
I wonder what's in the basement. Go ahead. Yeah, but I got to go take this outside. All right, and this.
Sorry?
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so here's the question of the day. Can you get any more condescending? You know, it's no secret here, Democrats obviously have a problem with black voters. You don't vote for me, then you ain't Black Joe is struggling to pull the black vote, despite his supposed in with the community, considering he served as Obama's VP for 8 years. And now, of course, the question is, what are Democrats going to do about it? They got a real good 3 to 4 months of campaigning to get some of those disillusioned black Democrats back on board. And you're probably guessing exactly where I'm going with this. It doesn't get any more condescending than this. How can you even be so condescending? They're sticking with their old strategy of gaslighting voters. The problem, once again, is that voters are just stupid and uninformed. Great election strategy. Let's take a look at what's going on here. This is what's coming out of the DNC HQ. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's tune into MSNBC to get our daily Democrat dose of propaganda.
I actually think that this is a phenomenon that needs to be better understood. I think that the behavior of black voters, even in just polls right now, is quite interesting. It's something I'm trying to get at in my reporting. I think the answer is that we don't know everything yet, and we'll certainly find out more in November. You know, my instinct is, first of all, that people forget. I mean, black voters are just like all voters. They too can be susceptible to disinformation campaigns. Black men, especially, because there is a divide, by the way, in this polling in behavior between black men and women and, you know, their interest in Donald Trump. Black men may be attracted to Trumpism more than black women, that would be consistent with white voters as well. So that's another parallel to look at. I do think that this idea that there's going to be a wave of black voters voting for Donald Trump is highly unlikely because black Americans know that Donald Trump is a racist. And so I think that's something they understand implicitly. At the same time, I also wonder if the Biden campaign's consistent messaging overall about the strength of the economy, especially, and how good things are, while that may be true on Wall Street and the indicators, the economy looks strong, black Americans in their daily lives aren't always feeling that. So when they don't hear their concerns and their lives and their interests represented in that campaign, it does, I believe, just talking to voters, it really does trigger this sense that they are being left behind, that they are being taken for granted. And I think the Biden campaign and Democrats in general are going to have to work harder this time to get that base to turn out.
Black voters are shifting towards Trump. Yep, you heard it there, folks. That's the latest crackpot theory. Black voters are shifting towards Trump because of disinformation. What an empty, vapid statement, but most importantly, what a wrong and inaccurate statement. This idea that black voters are shifting towards Trump because of disinformation is about as true as the border crisis being caused by, let's say, weather change.
Especially when I back it in up there,
Complete bogus nonsense. But again, another insult. That's what this is. It's just a little bit more carefully packaged. It's not exactly the Kathy Hochul approach of implying that black people essentially don't own or know what computers are.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
Not quite as direct, but essentially the exact same thing. You know, actually going back to what Kathy Hochul said about the people who showed up at Donald Trump's South Bronx rally, she called those people just a bunch of clowns. That insulting, dismissive attitude, well, this is essentially the same thing. You're just a dumb voter getting duped by disinformation. How incredibly condescending is that? The implication is that you're dumb and gullible, and that's why you're voting for Donald Trump. The perfect recipe for healthy political discourse. Assuming everybody who disagrees with you is either dumb or malicious and never actually engaging with their ideas. That is exactly what the Democrats are doing here. A total dismissal of frustrated voters. The reality is there's all kinds of legitimate reasons why black voters are choosing to leave the Democrat Party and support Trump. Some black voters are simply responding positively to Trump's economic policy proposals. Is that really so hard to believe? That some people like his record on job creation, tax cuts, deregulation, energy independence, or his known track record on criminal justice reform? Could it be black voter disillusionment with the Democrat Party? Some people just feel as though generational support from the black vote has been taken for granted by the Democrat Party while not actually delivering tangible results. I think that's objectively true, but apparently not. No, it's all just dumb people falling for disinformation schemes. It's not. It's regular people realizing one important thing, that 4 years ago, which wasn't that long ago, well, things were just better.
I don't agree with everything about President Trump. I don't agree with 100% everything that anybody does. However, I'm not voting based off of personal feelings. I'm voting based off personal experience. I've experienced Trump as president. I've experienced Joe Biden as president. And I like the way I like Trump as president more.
I am a business owner, and I'm seeing the effects of pricing with my cost of goods going up by 30%. To operate my business have went up substantially that I wasn't prepared for. During the Trump years, I pretty much started my business around that time.
Mm-hmm.
I would say things were substantially different, meaning I was working as well, but I was able to afford things. I wasn't worried about my future as I am now.
You know, we're talking about regular people here who sure aren't political scholars or economic experts or rocket scientists. That doesn't mean they're stupid, and they certainly aren't blind. But that's exactly what the Biden strategy seems to be, to treat black voters as if they don't get it, as if they can't see it. You know, everybody else is allowed to see it. Joe Biden's approval is in the gutter with all groups in all states. states, I mean, just take a look at this map right here. The states that are shaded in a tone of green are the ones where Joe Biden has a positive approval rating. He's net negative everywhere. Everybody dislikes Joe Biden. Every age group, almost everyone on the political spectrum, all races of people. Support for Joe Biden has dropped precipitously over the last couple of years. But Democrats are sitting here outraged, confused, shocked, dismayed at the idea that black voters specifically have had enough and might be dropping Joe Biden at a slightly higher rate than other groups. They view it as unacceptable almost that a black voter would turn their backs on them, even though it's perfectly normal and right along trend. The reason black voters are leaving is the same reason white voters and Hispanic voters and Asian voters, and the list goes on and on. The same reason they're frustrated is the same reason why black voters are frustrated, because gas is too damn high, groceries are too expensive, it's harder to run a business, to feed a family. Simple, tabletop issues that Joe Biden's always saying he's so connected with. Those are the issues. And if believing that or having issues with that means that you're living in a world of misinformation and disinformation, well then I guess we're all living in a fairy tale land, and Joe Biden and his minions living in a world where gas is supposedly cheap, the world's at peace, the border crisis doesn't exist, and inflation never actually happened. Well, I guess they're living in the real world. Welcome to the backward world of Democrat politics. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
I see the rolling